So, welcome to the Sunday service. It is just coming up to 2 o'clock on this Sunday afternoon on the 10th of March. I have had every single season that you could possibly have in one day has happened today. We've had snow, we've had blue sky, we've had grey sky, we've had wind, still have wind. The wind is still a problem. The sleet and snow is still a problem. We've had absolutely everything today. You could probably get a suntan out there right now if it wasn't so cold, but direct sunlight is still a bit of a problem. It's absolutely outstandingly weird weather to be driving a V8 Mustang in, which I did today, and I had to drive it in snow mode this morning because I just literally could not go on a straight line, so I had to put it in snow mode. It's filmed now. I have it in the can, ready to go. That's going to go up as a review over the next couple of weeks or so in the Mustang Bullet. It is a 475 horsepower V8. I happened across it while I was in Ford Rialto and asked could I have a spin in it, and they said yeah, of course. So I have it at home. It's going back tomorrow though, and I'm going to miss it so much. I love it. I love the noise. I love the pantomime. I love the kind of craziness of a V8. I fear it'd probably be one of the last V8s we ever see. I mean, just the way things are going right now, it seems very weird. It seems very strange with the V8s the way they are, because of WLTP, because of emissions, because of high CO2 and so on. And yet they're one of the rare things on the road, so that it's actually quite rare to see any V8 stuff. But it's cool that it's attached to the Bullet movie. If you've never seen the movie Bullet, it's got Steve McQueen. He's a detective in it, and he drives an old Mustang. This Mustang has virtually nothing to do with that Mustang. They're totally different. And thank God, because the old Mustang would literally kill you in weather like this. But today, it has snow mode and track mode and all sorts of things on it. But very cool. Incredibly cool car. I have discovered how to pop out my chat in a different window. So now I seem to be able to keep it sitting there so it doesn't hop forward. Thanks YouTube for thinking of me every once in a while. Now if only you would take away the top chat option and leave it a live chat option, I'd actually be able to see all of the people that are here. Now the only problem is I have no idea how many people are actually watching the video at the moment. I do see no that's it. I don't see how many people are actually watching the video at the moment. Hold on a second, just close over that door there because there's TV sound coming out from inside. The stream seems to be attracting a giant amount of people, and of course I put out a video this morning as well on the channel. If you haven't seen it, it's myself and Paul hooning around in a golf buggy in another episode of The Garage. It's very hard for YouTube to share these things. Obviously there isn't a name of a car brand in that, so it's not like the Mercedes golf buggy or something that's going around, so YouTube doesn't share it very well. So if you can share it, I'd very much appreciate it. If you can support the channel anyway, it'd be absolutely brilliant as well. If you can do that, it'd be absolutely fantastic. If you're just first time here, hit the subscribe button and click the bell icon. You never know when this kind of thing goes live, but every Sunday at 2 p.m. we do go live right here on the channel. Anyway, let's have a look at a few of the comments. Annie McAfee is in the house. We're a good crowd already, like pre-applied. Yeah, definitely, I've seen a good few of you waiting. There was like 20 people waiting when I went live there a second ago. Eric Rochford is in the house. Owen Gannon, just stick with a good old solid petrol engine. That's all we need. Diesel is finished in 2021, I think. It's a dirty fuel anyway. I can't beat the joy of power of petrol engine. I seen the laziest... I actually tweeted about it when I was looking at it on Twitter, but I seen the laziest piece of journalism from the Journal about getting rid of all petrol and diesel. The headline was, you won't be able to buy petrol or diesel or something at the pumps from 2030. Absolute I won't say it, but absolute crap. It doesn't make any sense. Of course you can't get rid of petrol and diesel in 10 years. Absolutely stupid. An insane move. Where does the government money come from? The money that's generated by petrol and diesel now, how does that get replaced? We are at a point, and we've always been for the last 10 years, you cannot take money away from the exchequer without replacing it with something else. So you can't change a tax, you can't up or down a tax without telling them where things are going. So it's absolutely ridiculous to even consider that that's going to happen, and it's totally lazy journalism and completely clickbait from the Journal as far as I can see. I'd love to be proven differently, but it seems that everybody on Twitter agrees with me. It would be lovely if they actually asked an old expert every once in a while to comment on these things. While I'm on that subject, Tuesday night, 7 p.m, RT1 Eco Eye is on the electric car thing. I haven't seen it. I don't know whether I'm in the thing or not in the thing. I could be in it for 20 minutes. I could be in it for 2 seconds. I don't know. But I think I'm in it. And that will be on Tuesday night on RTE. I won't be here. I'll be overseas. I won't be able to see it. So you'll have to tell me what you think of it. I won't be able to see it. I'll be in Spain testing the new BMW Z4 and the new BMW 3 Series. Z4 sounds really exciting. 3 Series sounds exciting as well, but I prefer, obviously, Z4 is the new Toyota Supra as well, so a bit of a catch between the two. So I won't be here to see EcoY. I'm terrible sorry, EcoY. I would have loved to have been here if it was out on him in February like I was supposed to be, but it's March now and I'm busy. But I haven't seen myself on television before, so it should be interesting. I'll record it and watch it when I come back. Evil Smurf is here. He says, don't be late. I wasn't. I was early. by minutes. Anyway, Andy McAfee just bought another small diesel run around. He actually, you see me pictures on whether you want to tell people or not. Afternoon, everybody, says Zdenko. Eric Watch was here afternoon. Bob, great crack watching the garage earlier on. It was good. It's a funny. It's like a trailer for what's coming, and what's available to you. If you could just close that door, hand, it'd be brilliant. Thank you. It's like a trailer for what we hope is coming. It very much depends on the viewership, what you guys want, what we can do. We have great plans to do stuff and can probably achieve a lot of it, but if the audience isn't there, it can be very hard to pull it along. So there's only so much sharing YouTube does these days. It's very hard to get things to trend or move on YouTube. If they don't like, if you put up a 20-minute video and people are only watching 5 or 6 minutes of it, they just won't share it out anymore. They just won't show it to anyone. It just dies a death instantly. So it's very hard to get it moving along. But anyway, we'll see what we can do. Ray Mulvaney's here. Hi, Ray. Niall Burke, greetings from wet and windy Tipperary. It's now blue sky outside the door. 10 seconds ago, it was snowing. So climate change, who knows? Rusty Bunt is here as well. Pastor Bob, must the stuck in the snow is there triangular schnockta is belting in Westmead. I'm not surprised. It is here as well. Well, it was a minute ago. Now it's blue sky. Like I said, absolutely clear blue sky. A beautiful day out there. A bit cold though, mind you. I don't believe that's still hop forward after I'm talking to all these people on YouTube, and it still hops forward. YouTube, you need to sort this out. Once it fills up, it just hops forward to the latest comment. I have to give a shout out to Raymond Grace for a start, who has already donated some money via PayPal. You're very good. Thank you very much, Raymond Grace. You're very kind. This turned up during the week. It turned up yesterday, I think it was. It says, look, Bob, please find and close your Snowmageddon survival kit. Anyone who was here last week will remember there was someone here last week with the username of Mini Eggs. And Mini Eggs, I thought was like someone messing around, but is actually Mini Eggs. They sent me an absolutely giant couple, two huge mini eggs. We've eaten one completely. It's gone already. You're not waiting for Easter. This is the other one. They're huge, a giant Easter egg, really thick, good thick chocolate, and 2 bags of little mini egg things. So thank you very much to Mini Eggs for sending them out. Please support Cadbury's all you can. I've also got these ones as well. They're from Paul McGando, Dairy Milks, but they're gone, by the way. Little dolls were in them as well. But thank you for the notes, and thank you for the best wishes. You're very good. Other stuff's been sent as well. It's actually hanging here behind me, TNG. Right up here too. That was sent in by lovely users out there. You're so kind. You're very good, the whole lot of you. What's that say? Bob looking like a mime. He needs a Marcel Marceau wig. I'll have to go silent now and not talk anymore and put my hands in the air as if I'm trapped in the box, man. Peter says, afternoon Bob, Sunday service on in the background while painting in the sitting room. Great day for it. My wife is literally painting the bloody doors right here. Don't blow the bloody doors out. She's painting the doors here in the room. And so she's here boiling kettles and making coffee, not painting at the moment, but she's going to paint again in a few minutes. So we're all painting. I'm not, though. I'm sitting here entertaining everybody while we paint. Andy McPhee, I'm in the kitchen with the table on the side making a big stew, dead cow one. It's just started snowing up north here. What's going on up the north? You guys are missing all the weather. We're getting all the weather down here. It used to happen up there, up the north, and we'd all sit down here and snigger into the back of our hands for a bit while you're all up to your knees in snow. Now it's the opposite way around. Now we're up to our knees in snow, but it only lasts for a few hours. It's gone. Anton Sturrison says, greetings Bob from a sunny Cork. Good. Cork, what's Cork like? I love Cork. Been out to Cork a few times over the last while. And it's been a really kind of a weird experience because it feels like a totally different, not just a part of the country, but it feels like you've left Ireland some way and entered the Republic of Cork, which I kind of like. I was down there a couple of weeks ago in right in the city centre near University College Cork, in a little hotel for Peugeot. We went down. It was very nice, very friendly, very, 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 very friendly people, actually, in fairness to them. They're really nice. We had a great time. Carlos says, greetings from Warrington in Pennsylvania in the USA. Good man, Carlos. That's good. You must be up late. What time is it in Warrington in the USA? Pennsylvania, 7 8 hours behind us, I suppose. So it's probably early morning, actually. You're probably just up early. Good. Brian O'Donnell, read somewhere that there's a German company putting a fast EV charge point in Ireland. I think it's first in Cahir. There's a few of these, Brian, all coming. There's one that I've been invited to that's happening up in Monaghan. I don't think I'm going to make that. It's in 2 weeks from now. They're opening a 50 kilowatt charger. Now, generally the fast chargers that come from the ESB are like 45, 250, somewhere around there. But this one's meant to be high speed as well. There's a few different companies coming because they're starting to charge for it. Once they start to charge for EVs, then you'll be able to choose which one you want to use. And the queues will be less at the EV charge points. But it doesn't really help in what's going on in government circles that are not taking any interest whatsoever in what people are doing. They're just presuming everybody wants an EV. But if everybody wants an EV, where's all the customers? I mean, where's all the sales? How come it's still only like 2% of the entire Irish market? We go, it's jumped 800% since last year, but it's still only 2% of the market. The rest of the market is made up of petrol and diesel and hybrid. Toyota are about to rule the market. Camry, I know this sounds like an ad for Toyota. It's not. Lexus are at it as well. That's why I'm testing those Lexus and the Corollas and the RAV4s. You know, there's a lot going on there in that hybrid section of the market where people are just unsure what they're going to go for next. And a hybrid's a guaranteed thing because the battery never really wears out. I mean, how many Prius batteries have been sold over time? It's been around for decades now. A petrol engine never loses its range. And you never have to stop to charge the thing up. So there's a lot going on in the hybrid range of stuff. Look at what Mazda's doing. They're going mild hybrid, petrol, and diesel only. That's it. They're not touching the electric part of the thing yet. And so there's so much going on in the edge, but there's no customers there for it. So it's a bit of a problem with all these fast charge points coming into the country. I think will be fairly useless in about 5 or 6 years' time, as everybody just charges at home. There's no point in charging out because your range is 500 or 600 kilometers, so you don't need to charge in a fast charge sense. Anyway, Josh Ryan says, hi Bob, the garage was brilliant this morning. Bought the Volvo S40 I emailed you about. Absolutely adore it. Thanks a million for the advice a few weeks ago. No problem at all, Josh. I'm glad you ended up with the right car is the most important part for me. Remember, I never care where you buy it or what you're buying. You just tell me what you're looking for and I'll tell you if it's a good or a bad investment. I do my best for everybody. I try to answer all the messages. I do apologise if I haven't got your message. Email me again because it just mounts up every Sunday evening. Email box goes mad and everything starts all over again. Every time I upload a video, of course, there's hundreds of comments to get through. So I try and get to all the comments I can. But if I can't get to your comment, just email me again or forward me again. Just remind me that it's there because it'd be awful hard to keep up with them. Derek Norris just says 49. Don't have 49 what? Oh, 49 people waiting, was there? Sorry, I didn't know how many was here. 52 watching, that's probably much higher now. I still can't see actually how many people are watching, funny enough. Even though I have a live control room, which is even weirder. But anyway, it matters not how many people. If there was only 5 people here, I'd still be streaming because that's where we started, lads. You have to remember where we started and where we were from before. We started with nothing, so we got nothing to lose. Anyway. Annie McPhee, V8 Mustang registered after the 1st of April 2017, £140 a year tax in the north of Ireland. Unless it retailed over 40 grand, then it has to be 5 years old to drop to 140 PS. It's 2,300 and something euro to tax that Mustang outside the door. It'd nearly make you cry, wouldn't it, when you want a V8? Anyway, it's like, you know, it's just so few of them on the road. You're penalised for even considering that you might want to spend a bit of money on having a flash car. God forbid you should have an electric car. How dare you? Until you're all electric and we're all paying €300 a year tax. That's going to happen. I bet you any money. John Bergen says, has anybody ever given a thought to what a plan B might look like for EV drivers in the event of a power outages caused by weather conditions or ESB strikes? There isn't a plan B, to be honest with you. The only thing you could have, I mean, in a prolonged power outage, more than 24 hours, which is highly unlikely. In fairness to ESB, we had a power cut here a couple of weeks back and it lasted 6 hours. And that was outside. It literally went on for a while overnight. We lit candles. We had great time telling kids stories and stuff with no TV. But it came back on that evening. So it doesn't really go off for long enough to actually worry about charging your car. But in the unlikely event of a longer power outage, there isn't a plan B. There has never been a plan B, and God forbid that anybody should come up with this. I really do think we're at a crux point of where we're going to go with power. Everybody's talking about electric as if it's the only future. I don't think it's the only future. I actually think it's part of a solution to overall futures. We need to get back to a point where EV makes up a good portion of the sales of cars. So we're talking maybe 20% of the sales, 30% maybe. And then the rest is made up of petrol and diesel, and more people using proper zero emission vehicles like bicycles and walking and things where we actually don't put out any emissions at all. That's our real future, is bringing our transport needs down, not giving us another alternative to transport, is actually using less transport in general. And the transport we do use being very clean. And then on the weekend you have your bit of fun in a V8 should you want to. But there isn't a plan B for that, John, unless you have your own generator, which I think you need special permission from ESB networks and electrical crowds to actually put in a generator that runs your house. As far as I know, that's not quite legal in Ireland, but I might be wrong on that. There's Frank Metcalf has joined us. Good man. Stephen Carney's here as well. Bob, for the future garage episodes, you could do videos of you guys wrenching an old car, a BMW, Mercedes. You could become the next wheeler dealers. We could, yeah, and we have a plan actually, and have been offered a car. What we're going to do is take a used car. We're going to set a straight line speed of that car, and then we're going to try and make it go faster. So we're going to try and beat our straight line speed by mechanical adaptations, or by making it lighter, or whatever we have to do to make it faster. We will. We've already had enough from that. Have to reach out to Rally School Ireland as well. We want to come up to you guys and make an episode up there for the fun of it, just for the crack. I'm sure the lads up there would love that, in the safety end of things and in the kind of madness end of things as well. As we do a bit of madness stuff. I think I'm starting to get a cold. I feel like I'm starting to clog up. Shamrock 1693. I hope you weren't born then. If you were, congratulations, you're very old. Petrol will always be taxed heavily compared to alternatives, whether it be at the pump or motor tax. It is, but if you take it away, so if you say, like that journal article the other day I read where it says in 2030 we won't be able to buy petrol diesel, you take that away, where does the tax come from? Who's going to pay the tax then when it's not there anymore? It just doesn't make any sense. So it's always taxed, but then electricity is taxed. Everything is taxed at some point or another. All VAT, there's always some sort of a tax to pay on it. And that's just something you deal with. But if you try and take it away, what happens next? Richard Brennan says, how's things, Bob? No power here in Castlecomer. Your power's gone. See, we've had a power cut already. There we go. We're in trouble. The electric car future is already in trouble, because in Castlecomer they got no electricity at all. Evil Smurf. Going to look like road pricing in replace of fuel tax, do you think, Bob? Yeah, I don't know about that. That's really hard to do. You'd have to people have to give up all of their privacy about where they go and how they go and how to get there, to be able to monitor the road by distance. So to say per mile you have to pay 2-cent tax, that sounds brilliant, but how many miles do you cover, and who's going to monitor that, and how much cheating going on? We already have a ton of clocked cars in the country, loads of English imports and stuff that are all clocked, so it's very hard to monitor that stuff. But I do think the problem is right now that the government makes a lot of money out of selling petrol and diesel at the pumps. I mean, more than maybe 54% of the actual price of a litre of fuel goes to the government immediately, just immediately. So if it's €1, 55 cent of that goes to the government, 45 cent goes to the petrol station. But that petrol station has to pay its suppliers, has to put the lights on, pay the electricity, pay the insurance, pay the tax. So you don't actually make a whole lot from selling petrol in Ireland, which is why most of the small independent petrol stations are now dead and gone long ago. There's ones I've seen even around me here. There's one in Rosenallis, which is over Malliquay. I go to Slieve Bloom. That's gone. Little small independent petrol station there just can't afford to stay open. It just costs too much money to stay open. So when it comes to fuel tax, the government really has to rethink of what's going on, because unless you sell millions of gallons a month, you can't stay in business, and you have to have a coffee shop and a sandwich bar, and you have to be a mega sized petrol station, and that means there's only one way the petrol price is going to go, and that's up. Look how quick it goes. Look how quick it goes up when there's a rise in petrol crude oil, and how slow it is to come down, comparatively speaking. Cross 13 has joined us. EV drivers are actually better off as we can run household appliances off our EV. We're not dependent on fuel deliveries. Even if you have an island capable of microgeneration, you don't need a grid power. That sounds ideal, but I don't see that happening in the UK. I know you can do it here, but I'm not too sure that that's actually going to be a good solution. Again, it's the change of brain thought. Right now, I walk over and I click the switch on my kettle and the power comes on. I don't think about turning in petrol cars, diesel cars, or plugging yokes in, or trying to adapt, or does power flow from the car to the house or to the... I don't want to think about that. That's not how normal individuals think about cars, or a normal individual thinks about a household. You just come in, you turn the switch on, and it works. That's it. That's all people really care about. So if that's the solution, then there needs to be software and hardware that needs to go in between the two, and that again costs thousands. It can cost thousands. It costs 600 quid to get a charging unit in. That's just one way. It just sends power out. You need all kinds of connections and electrical stuff to go on. There's a lot to do before that's a reality for everybody, I feel. Jose says, hey Bob, what car manufacturers are really based here in Ireland? Does it matter? Do we care? There's no manufacturer, so we don't make cars here. We do make components of cars here. I actually was chatting to a fella recently who makes the dashboards for Volkswagen Golf down in Cork. There's a guy in Galway that makes a lot of the electrical connections for Volkswagen as well, a group rather than just Volkswagen. So there's bits and pieces made here. We used to assemble cars here years ago up in Dublin. We used to assemble quite a few. We had Fiat, we had Mercedes, we had Opel, we had Datsun, we had Nissan, we had who else was up there? Jaguar was up there. There's tons of them. Down in Cork we had Ford. They were open there for a long time. They're closed now, but the plant is closed, but the rest is still there. So there's a lot. It used to happen a lot here, but actually manufacturers in the country, none. Head offices in the country. Volkswagen Group is run from directly from Germany, so that is Volkswagen Ireland, run directly from there. Now, someone like Hyundai is not Hyundai Ireland. Technically, it's an importer of Hyundai, so they make their own a spec here, which means the spec in Ireland for a Hyundai is very different from the one in the UK. They work closely with Hyundai UK, and of course they do work with the head offices, but it's not Hyundai Group that runs the whole thing here. So that'd be one of them that's not a group. Same as Peugeot is not Peugeot Ireland. They're run by an importer. Gowan Group is the name of Gowan. Annie McPhee says I can use a VPN and RT Player app and that'd be grand in Spain. I'll give it a shot. I'm told VPN doesn't work anymore. I don't know now, to be honest with you, for absolute sure. I'm not too sure what I have to do. But I'd love to see it, obviously, live and join in the chat while it's on. And if it's terrible, or if I look weird, or I don't feel very comfortable, I think I'd like to hide in Spain and not come back. Then I might only be in the bloody show for 10 seconds. Who knows? Claudio, I can't pronounce your name, I'm sorry, but he says, hi from Romania. Good man from Romania. I was out there last year testing Mazda MX-5 on the Trans-Bulgarian Highway. It was absolutely brilliant. Really enjoyed Romania. Very nice people. Food's not great, but the rest was okay. Sorry. I missed the chat did jump forward, thanks, but not cross. Last time I had a power cut, I ran the fridge off the i3. How do you connect it up? How do you get the connection from the i3 to the rest of the car? And it must be some sort of transformer to even just change the plug type. Brian McDonald, he's answered someone else. James Dunn, remember, if you put an at in front of someone's name, you will be able to respond directly to them, and I don't read it out. So it's not public. You can read it on the screen, but I don't read it out to everybody. Hopefully you're all enjoying us on the server so far. If it's your first time here, hit the subscribe button. Click the bell icon beside that. You can also support the channel by PayPal, Patreon, and any other way that you could possibly throw at us. It'd be absolutely brilliant if you could. I'd love to... What? Who's joining? Oh, Catherine's joining as well. My wife is over there in the corner joining us. The Touareg. Oh, I've just been told by Volkswagen Ireland the V8 Touareg is not coming to Ireland. Oh, I want another V8. Someone bring another V8 to Ireland for God's sake so I can drive it. I absolutely love V8. That's noise. It's the noise. It's a beautiful, beautiful noise. Afternoon, everybody, says James Dunn on a chilly Sunday. Love the garage, Bob. Regards, Jim, the bus driver. Good man, Jim. Glad to have you aboard. He's the bus driver. Oh, God, that's no pun intended. Yeah, that was the episode of Garage Without this morning. We're not filming next week. We might film the week after. I've had a lovely, good friend of mine, Dave O'Byrne, has put his hand in the air and said he'll bring lights and a camera, and we'll have a bit of fun, maybe film with him as well. It'll be a third person. Jamie, who is Paul's son, has been helping out with some of the filming so far. We have plans to do all sorts of things. It very much depends on the audience. Very much depends what the audience are looking for, whether we can do it or not, and whether we can just fit it into bloody schedule, because Paul is a barber and he's doing his franchise stuff and I'm doing this, and it's really hard to get the two of us together in one spot to do anything. And so it's a bit of crack when we do, though. Fair enough. Ian Person says, Bob, I'm loving the French look you're wearing. See, I need a baguette. Did you anybody watch the Grand Tour the other night? It was really good. It's really good. This season of the Grand Tour is really, it's after settling in a bit. It's very, very good. I really enjoyed it. Top Gear, unfortunately, tragically, is still crap and hasn't really recovered from where it was before. It really does feel so forced, and it's gone down a route of being nobody caring anymore. I think the next series of it is going to be the last ever. You know, did you ever see that picture of the man flogging a dead horse? I think that's kind of what they need to do. They just need to bring in someone totally different, running behind the scenes, not in front of the camera, but the other side of the screen is the problem. That's where the big problem is. Mick Mulcahy is joined. Good man, Mick. Good to have you here. Snazbot. Now I'm answering question 2:06 p.m. So I'm already 20 minutes behind. My God almighty, you guys just ask questions that are red and knots. It's great. Snazbot. Toyota Avensis 1.6 D4D Business Edition 2016 or a Toyota Auris Hybrid 2014. Do you really want a diesel? Do you really... Avensis and an Auris, they're very much bigger. The Avensis is a bigger car inside. Boot space, if it's saloon one, it's about the same, actually, funny enough, as the Auris. But the hybrid one is a more sure way of getting a trade-in price at a later date. You're more sure of getting your money back. Whereas the diesel one, I can't be that sure about it. It's a little bit different in the future whether diesel is going to be there or not. But right now, the business edition, it's a good old car, the Avensis, I really do. Last of its kind doesn't exist anymore. The Camry's coming this year. I've booked in for a drive of the Camry in April, I think, early next month. So it'll be a bit of a spin around to see what it's like. I've been in it already. The lads here in Des Hughes Motors up the town had them there for a day. I went up and had a little look around. Didn't drive it around, just had a little look around. It seemed good. I loved the interior. Really bring the whole thing to life. So if I was picking for myself, I was picking one of those two cars, Snazbot, I would go to Toyota Auris Hybrid. Even though it's 2 years old, you're still buying a hybrid. You're still buying in at the right point in the market, unless you have to go electric. Raymond Gray says, Bob, the wind and the road noise on a Dacia Sandero stepway is bad. Is there a company out there that can rectify this? Depends on where the wind and road noise is coming from. Wind can't really be rectified. So, and the only thing you can do is add a spoiler here and there. You've got to change the direction of wind around the car. Is the only way to make the car quieter on wind noise. But on road noise, that's probably coming from the tyres. And you will find very quickly, changing out to tyres for a different brand, a quieter brand. Look at the rating of the noise rating on the side of it. It's a way of telling, but generally speaking, if you want quieter toys, you need softer compound and less grip. Weirdly, are a little bit quieter than the rest of it. But that's the only way to change that. After that, the stepway is, I know what you're exactly talking about. Dacia, because of the sound insulation problems, it's very hard to combat the wind noise, but you can combat it a little bit. You put some sound deadening pads under the bonnet. They're heat proof to sit on top of the engine. You see them in some cars, are quite visible. A big soft pad on the inside of the bonnet. You can put them inside the doors. Well, you are making the car heavier, which makes the fuel economy a bit of a problem, but it will combat the road noise. But other than that, you're kind of stuck with the road noise. You've got tyres and sound deadening pads, your only hope. Daza says, he in France? No, but I'd like to be. I'd like to be in a very far south of France. Would be very nice right now. Eating a baguette and drinking some red wine would be ideal. Eric Watchford, any tyres or petrol left in that Bullet? No, none. I had to put petrol in it yesterday, and I have just about enough petrol to get back to Dublin tomorrow. Must be one of those cars you really don't want to get back. It is 100%. Honest to God, I would literally, if anybody wants a carton of milk, ring me up and I'll buy a carton of milk and I'll drive to you, preferably if you're in Cork. Dazza says West Cork is a separate state. Is it? Good. I'd like to. I moved there. Can you get your own currency so we stop getting ripped off by the government in general? Cal's is nuts. Hi Bob, what's your opinion on regarding the Daimler and BMW working together for autonomous driving and car sharing? What kind of competition should we expect in the future between them? There'll be no competition whatsoever. Really, the way car companies are going right now is they're all signing up agreements with one another to share tech, because it's a lot cheaper for a car company to get another car. Look, if you ever go to Italy, Italy's a great example for any of this sort of stuff. So what you find is there's a restaurant across the road and they make spaghetti, and there's another little place across the road that makes coffee. The place that makes coffee hasn't got enough room to have its own restaurant, and the one that makes the spaghetti hasn't got enough room to have a coffee machine. But so when you order a coffee over there, the little waiter runs across the road, buys it in the other place and gives it to you, and then they just charge you then they just split your take at the end of the day. So what car companies are doing is, one car company is developing the autonomous driving, the other one's developing aerodynamics, and they're sharing the information. So they still compete, but they're actually using all the same equipment behind. The one that's actually behind almost everything in your car these days is Continental. You know, Continental tires on it. They actually make a ton of electronic stuff that goes into your car. All those autonomous driving things, all those active cruise control yokes, all those radar guided, all that stuff, that's all coming from Continental, really. So Continental actually makes much more of your car than car companies make these days. So there's very little competition between any of them, and all the prices will begin to stabilize as things become the same price. Like if I can buy my cup of coffee for $2.10 across the road and I sell it to you for $2.20, that's just 10-cent profit. But I don't have the overheads of having a coffee machine I need to clean. It's easy, isn't it? Carlos says it's 10 a.m. in Pennsylvania. Get up out of bed. What are you doing? Anyway, John Carney. Hi Bob, has anyone applied for a green card for driving in the UK? It's a long process, and how does it work? No one I know of. No one's asked me about it. I don't think anyone believes any of it's actually going to happen, to be honest with you. I don't think anything's going to happen. I predict, and I'll predict it again now, and I did this a couple of months back, that Britain will go for a delay on Brexit. They won't actually leave, but they won't actually make a decision on whether to stay or go. They're just delayed for about 2 years, because in 2 years' time, Theresa May finishes her term as Prime Minister. They'll elect someone else, they'll hold a vote, and they'll just vote stay in, and nothing will happen at all. So I don't think any of this it's a moot point, really. I don't think anything's going to happen. But if you've applied for a green card to drive in the UK, please let us know. It'd be great. I'm actually transiting through the UK very shortly on another overhaul trip, and I see the company who's bringing us is email us back going, we're not sure we should transit through the UK. We might just transit through Paris instead. So you can see how everybody's starting to change. Brian Cullen says, Bob, did you just say your wife is painting the place there beside you? She's making a tea and a coffee while you're sitting chatting with mates. Janie, does your wife have a sister? No, she doesn't, actually. You don't have she's not a sister. It's just her. She's fairly unique. Yeah, she likes painting, though. I don't. I hate it. I absolutely hate it, but she likes painting. It drives me absolutely insane. I can't. I have no patience at all for that sort of thing. I have to be doing something other than just stand there moving a brush up and down. But it seems to make her happy. She's only over there. She can hear everything I say, so it's okay. IQ Imagery. My neighbour was scammed when they had their car at a chain of franchise dealer garages in Dublin. Basically, she took her Ford Kuga that had Goodyear tyres fitted in for a basic service. How was she scammed? What do you mean she was scammed? And when they changed it out for Goodyear tyre. So you assumed that she was scammed because she got Goodyear tyres. Goodyear's a good brand of tyres. And look, the greatest advice I give to anybody, it's not just women here, it's men as well. Men are always expected to know the answer to everything. Oh, I know what this man's talking about when he's talking about his gaskets and everything else. A lot of guys haven't a bull's notion what they're talking about. They rely on someone else to sell them stuff. So if you're unsure, human nature tells you to go, no, don't do that. If someone can talk you around, they will, and that's usually what happens. So just if you're unsure, just say, hold on, I don't need tyres right now this minute. I'm not sure I want that done right now. I don't know if I can get that done right now. Just say no, and then go away and get advice and see for yourself what you want to do. You know, if you're talked into something, that's your fault, so to speak. And I know it's not a scam. Maybe she needed tyres, just to happen to have Goodyear on site and sold her Goodyear. So there's not much you can do about it. You just have to put them on. If you need tyres, you need tyres. I've seen things with wire sticking out the side of it, with the cloth pattern on the inside sticking out through the tyre. I've seen that here in car parks. Aaron Hanratty. Bob, I don't know if I should buy an Audi Q5 top spec or a Skoda Kodiaq Sportline. Very different cars. I know that may seem like a strange thing to say. A Skoda Kodiaq Sportline is a gorgeous car, but you will feel the quality difference and the sound difference and the noise and the vibration difference between it and an Audi Q5 without a shadow of a doubt. So if your budget can afford an Audi Q5, I would take that. You will be insanely happy for a long period of time. But failing that, if you want to save a bit of money, maybe a family holiday in the difference. I had a Skoda Q8 recently, and the options on the Q8 that I had, just the options, could have bought me a Volkswagen Golf. So there's a considerable price difference between the two. But as Q5 goes, it is a lovely car. But Skoda Kodiaq Sportline is also a lovely car. But there is a difference in quality between the two, ever so slightly. Brian O'Donnell, 88 people online, that will hit 100 soon. Good man, great to have you all here. I love having everybody here on a Sunday. Sunday is a lovely day to just hang around in the grey sky that turns blue every couple of seconds and snows on us. And then the wind comes and blows it all away. It's wild. Anthony Duggan, S500 V8, what are your thoughts? Love it, absolutely love it. But when it goes wrong, it goes catastrophically wrong. It's a very sensitive car, but a fabulous engine. Now, the engine's not sensitive. The engine will outlast you, but the electrics, the traction, the gearbox, the everything about the car just needs adjustments here and there. Like a service can be quite expensive on that. Whereas that Mustang I have outside the door, I could service that. It's pretty bulletproof. It's 8 spark plugs, 1 air filter, well 2 air filters, pollen filter as well, an oil filter, and I think it takes, is it 6 litres of oil or 7 litres? I can't remember. It's a lot of oil it takes anyway. But other than that, it's pretty straightforward to service that one. But if you can find yourself an S500 V8, buy it. I also advised a friend of mine to buy a BMW 6 Series, a V8 one, 3 litre, and he went, no, I don't know whether I should. They come up for sale quite a lot, and he didn't buy it. And now he's kicking himself that he didn't buy it. I found him one and he didn't buy it. Plan B could be a gas conversion, which defeats the purpose of having an electric car in the first place. But yeah, you do something to power your own home would be the thing here that we really need. Dara Joyce, just in the door after spinning my V8 Porsche 928 S4. Whoa, that's a serious €56 a year tax. I love classic cars insurance and tax. Brilliant. I hope that, look, if classic car tax ever gets attacked by the government and starts to go up in price, you all phone me. For God's sake, let's get together, make sure that doesn't happen, because the old classic cars cannot be destroyed off the road. That would be the end of all humanity if we start losing our classic car fleet out there. But it's absolutely gorgeous thing, that V8 in that Porsche. Oh, cinema. I can hear it in my own head right now. There's a lovely little soundtrack playing of a V8. Snazball said, is there a plan B for petrol and diesel cars if there's a fuel shortage again? There won't be a fuel shortage again. We're not running out of oil. I'm reliably informed. I used to work in the petrochemical industry once upon a time. I'm reliably informed by my contact in the petrochemical industry that we have enough oil, crude oil and whatever to last another couple of 100 years easily. But we're always making out as if it's running out. The biggest problem we have right now with carbon is airplanes and ferries and boats and ships and things, and all these things that could run on nuclear powers that don't, you know, they spew out millions of gallons of fuel, as do airplanes. 6,000 litres of fuel in a 2-hour flight. It's like a crazy amount of fuel that's been burnt by just one airplane. Anyway, Stephen Costello says, I would say the Master Barbershop website crashed with everyone checking it out after the Golf Bookie video. Good man, Ball, you beat free advertising. Yeah, he probably did, yeah. He had the jumper on him in the back of it. We don't mind that, sure, it's all a bit of a crack. It's only a bit of fun. But it may become more formal in the next while, because it is starting to become quite popular, which is the other part of that as well. When things become popular, you have to feed it. That's the problem, is you have to make more content for it the whole time, and neither of us really have the time to do that. Derek Meads, Bob, did you hear that if you buy a new Peugeot 208 electric and you're going for a long trip, Peugeot will loan you a petrol car to make the trip? Well, I think good idea. That's genius. I was talking to Emma in Peugeot about that exact idea. It's been their idea for quite some time. It's a genius idea for Peugeot. Very clever idea, in that you own an electric car, but if you feel nervous about driving down to Cork in an electric car, you don't really want to. You're going for the whole weekend. You're going to a place, maybe your holiday home doesn't have a place to plug in. Maybe it's in a fragile area for electricity or whatever. They just loan you a petrol car and away you go. So it takes the fear out of that owning electric car. Another step down feature, which I do like. I like the step down feature. I like people you have to take care of both ends. The people who are really, really, really knowledgeable own the latest version of whatever phone it is that's out at the moment, and some folding Samsung thing or other. But you also have to cater for the person who doesn't own a phone at all. Nothing. They don't really, they've got an old Nokia and it works for them. They need to have some sort of solution as well. And the majority of rural Ireland, sure, all rural Ireland, where would be without it? But the majority of rural Ireland doesn't have access to a fast charging point, or a charging point for that matter that actually works would help as well. So there's a bit of, like when you get down to Cork, I remember driving to Cork last time. I went to Cork City. I'd been in Cork nearly an hour. And if you look at the map, I was only halfway across the county. It's a very big county. There's not that many charge points on there. So you have to think about that sort of thing. And it's not just Cork. That's a city. It's a big city, Cork. So you have to think about those kind of people and what they do down there too. Gary Mills, hi Bob. What's your thoughts on a Subaru Impreza 1.6 petrol hatchback 142 reg? Seems to be a decent spec. You do get a lot of spec in an Impreza because, well, they don't sell well, so they have to kind of bonus you with more stuff that's in it. Now, gasoline engines in Japanese cars or in Asian cars tend to be deadly. What I mean deadly, I mean they just don't break, right? The old Boxer engine that Subaru had, that could have a lot of problems. It burnt oil and it did a lot of weird stuff. But these more 1.6 petrol is just more traditional engine. It'll go around the clock. They're pretty basic inside though. I do find them very plasticky. But you will get a deal on it. That's the thing, Gary, is you will be able to do a deal somewhere because very few people want a Subaru because they don't know what it is and it doesn't sell well over here. Although Subaru Ireland has been folded into Citroën Ireland, which is part of a bigger group again from the UK. So we will be hearing more about Subaru in the near future. It is going to happen. They will start pulling it back from the brink, hopefully, because Subaru hasn't had any investment or money over the years. And I've never had a press car from Subaru. So if you're watching from Subaru, phone me up. See what we do with press cars. See what we do a little review what it's like if you don't fear the Reaper. As I was described the other day, everybody must be fearing when they give me a car. I'm sure they don't be afraid of what I'm going to say. I just don't have a clutch when I'm talking about cars. Eric Watcher says, I think you need to feature a TIDA on the garage, only if I could set fire to it. Could you make a nice job an angle grinder? If I could set fire to it, bomb it, kick it, break it with a sledgehammer, turn it over, maybe rip it asunder, and generally kill it, then I've no problem featuring. If you want to donate your Nissan Tida, I know a good bog where I can watch that burn to the ground while toasting marshmallows. So it'll be fun, no problem. Andy McAfee, folk that cheat the fuel tax system with the red or the green diesel, no matter what the system, certain folk will find a way to push it. But that's the same in every system. If there's a way around doing something, an easy way. I always find humans are desperately lazy. If there's an easy path through, they will take the easy path, whatever that may be. You'd want to be insane to take the hard path, no matter who you are. Unless you're someone like Arnold Schwarzenegger, who'll stand back later on and go, I took the hard path and you should work really, really hard. Yeah, but go work for yourself then. Snazbot says at 2:20 there was 101 people watching, so we're doing well. We're lovely. Click the like button, click the subscribe button. Don't forget you can submit money to the channel as well through PayPal, Patreon, or just like hand me cash in the street works as well. Any of the means that means the channel can stay free. But by free it means that I get to say whatever I want to say about cars, and it means that nobody can have a control in that respect in advertising or whatever. So it really does make a difference. The mic, the light, the laptop, that's all come from people donating money to the channel to keep it all nice and smoothly running and free. And it's been very important and vital over the last few months to keep that running, because that's why the channel is growing, because we're investing money back into it. Dara Joyce, when smart meters are installed in houses in the coming years, the electricity used to charge your car can be identified and taxed at 23% VAT rate instead of 13% VAT rate for the rest of the house. Now imagine, Dara, how much money will have to be spent to install these fancy new meters. Because currently, if I don't have a night meter, so currently if I wanted a night meter, I would have to pay the ESB to put in a night meter, which would cost me a couple of grand, right? And then you have to go on to special things where you have night meter rates on. So it becomes this kind of ridiculous system of having to pay more money. How long will it take to get that back out of it? That's the biggest problem. Whereas if I just buy a petrol engine car, if I bought a Seat Me outside the door right now, 10 or 12 grand, brand new, leave it there, not going to cost me a penny to do anything with. Just put petrol in it, tax it, insure it, and drive it. That's it. No worried about might meters or day meters or charging units or does it charge, does it not charge, does it hold its charge. In 10 years' time, will it still have as much charge? None of that worries there as well. So you have to think of those people as well as just the way things are going to run with these smart meters or instant. Mine, actually, I have a charge point that was installed by ESB 5 or 6 years ago. I don't know when it was. Whenever Renault Ireland put out this Renault ZE range at the time, it went in out there. That's a 3 kilowatt charger, and it wasn't powerful enough to charge the Kona. That's only 5 years. It would charge it. It would take 26 hours or something to charge it. So it's a waste of time. I'd have to upgrade it to a 7 kilowatt charger, which would be enough. Everyone goes, that's enough. It'd be enough for another couple of years. Still, it's not enough anymore. I spend more money on a charger. So anyway, Shamrock says, if you were to tax a car by mile, i.e. a black box in a car, it might be attractive to own a 5 or 6 cylinder instead of the Mickey Mouse 3 cylinders, FYI. Yeah, it would. I don't know if I'm willing to give away my rights again to privacy. I really hate this privacy thing that's coming up the whole time. The idea of a car for me was being able to just, at any time of the day, night, whatever time I want, I get in a car and I can drive as far until I hit coastline, until I've run out of Ireland. That's the independence of it. I don't really want a black box paying attention to me the whole time. I just don't. And that information being shared with who knows what, just to get some discounts. I'd rather just get on with it, just enjoy the bloody thing. Anyway, IQ Image says, Bobby, not all UK imports are clocked. You're right, yeah, that's not all. That's true, not all. I didn't say it was, but just saying there's plenty of them out there. There are more transparent within the UK mileages, with mileage being recorded online for anyone to search online from their MOT NCT website. There is, but they're still getting clocked. They're still getting clocked. I still have come across those situations where you're looking at a car online, it looks really, really clean. And when you ask what the mileage is, all very sketchy. It's when the mileage was recorded last, how long it's been since it got a service, and all sorts of sketchiness comes into straight away. It has just gone black dark outside, and a dump of snow is about to come down again. It's the weirdest weather, man. If this is climate change, I'm very disappointed. Where did global warming go? We're supposed to get warmer. It's colder. What? Hang on, we jump forward there. Hold on, we're just scrolling back. Still scrolling back. Where are we? How far back am I? Here we go. In actual fact, more Irish cars are clocked as NCT mileage is not available to the public like the MOT in the UK. I suppose. We're such paddy whackery here. We don't involve ourselves in that sort of stuff. And we haven't had a Minister for Transport who has any sort of intelligence for driving or for the general public or how taxation works or nothing. We've only ever had caretakers. They come in as Minister for Transport. They're actually something else entirely. And they come in to sign off some sheets that suits the NRA, the RSA and the AA. And that's it. That just keep them three bodies happy and it should be all sorts. Even though the AA is a commercial entity, the spokesman, Conor Faulkner, for the AA is the spokesman for the Road Safety Authority. It's a crazy situation that a commercial organisation is a spokesman for a road safety authority. And then the NRA, who all I ever see them do is clear litter on the side of the N7 and mowing the grass. They get paid millions for that. Anyway, it's just me. Maybe I'm speaking out of turn, but sure, that's my job. As a journalist, I do ask those kind of questions. I had my first ever power cut since moving back to Northern Ireland the other week. Just after I got home, I had filled the freezer, plugged the inverter into the diesel Skoda and plugged the fridge into that. Bloody hell, that's a good trick. Also, I self-generate a fair amount of my own power from solar PV. That's from Cross and from Andy McAfee. This is just crazy. NordVPN has plenty of Irish servers, probably able to get a free trial. Didn't see that NordVPN. I've seen an ad on TV or something for that, funny enough. Roger Starkey says, Dara Joyce, what happens when you power the house from the car or use roof solar? Your power nothing to do with the government. Piston Geeks, the real ones. Hi Bob, looking forward to the videos with Paul. Any chance you could give my page a mention? Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, thanks, Piston Geeks. I have to check out who Piston Geeks are now, because I know another crowd called Piston Geeks, but I'm not too sure it's the same Piston Geeks. But anyway, yes, of course you can. I always mention everybody who mentions stuff on my page. It's all good. Subscribe. It's always good. I've been planning my next house, going to have enough solar and storage to operate entirely off a grid for 9 months of the year, including running the cars for 60,000 kilometres per annum. That's incredible. That'll be absolutely incredible. You should make videos on these things and how to do it, because other people want to know how you're doing that. Let me just check something here because it's gone. Yeah, it is. I'm almost entirely lit by my light over here now. This light here. See, if I turn it off, look, it's like dark. It's gone black outside. This is crazy. Mad weather we're having. Anyway, Anton Sturrison says, do you think Tesla will ever become a viable option in Ireland? Tesla, no. Tesla's gonna become a battery manufacturer eventually. They sell luxury cars. Elon Musk is an expert marketeer. That's how he's built his brand. That's how he built the whole lot up. He even did a little marketing exercise the other day with that, again, Marques Brownlee. Huge influencer from the US, knows absolutely nothing about cars. Gave him a Tesla, or sold him a Tesla. And then got him to do other stuff as well. So there's a huge marketing operation behind Tesla. I think once people, I understand Tesla sales in the US. If you look at LA or any of those big cities where people basically don't drive because of the volume of traffic, they don't want to go anywhere. So Tesla suits them there down to the ground. But in Ireland, in the UK, and it's a luxury brand. They're really expensive. Whatever one you look at, even the Model 3 is still bloody expensive to buy. So I don't know if Tesla has a proper future as a car manufacturer. Again, where's the customers? Once all of the luxury customers have bought all the luxury Teslas, where's the next generation of customers? Where's the trade-in value? How much is the car going to be worth in a couple of years' time? Do they get in PCP, out from PCP? No one's mentioned the fact that Elon Musk just wrote off at the stroke of a pen every bricks and mortar Tesla dealership in the world. Just closed them all. They're all closed, all gone. All those jobs are finished, all finished. All those training people are all done. That one in Dublin's finished as well. They're all finished. So, like, no one's talking about that, and that's a money saving option. That's why your Tesla Model S has suddenly got a little bit cheaper, because he just closed all of the dealerships in the world. That's a lot of jobs, by the way. Richa237 says, hi Bob, bloody windy and trying to snow and Drogheda. Great show. It really is windy. I was actually trying to film earlier on today in the Mustang, and my drone just went away. It came back, but it went off at first. Philip Shepherd says, keep up the good work, Bob. Long time subscriber up here in Belfast. First time watching the Sunday service. Good man. Good to have you, Philip. Please hit the subscribe button and make sure you're there. There's Mini Eggs. Mini Eggs, a comment to 225. Mini Eggs. Will I get to try the new Clio? I probably will. There's the Mini Eggs thing that I was saying. Hold on to get it on the camera there. How do I get it? Right there it is. There, look. Mini Eggs. Was sent to me by Mini Eggs, which is right there in the comments. Good to have you. Thank you very much for sending some Easter eggs. One was eaten last night already, and so was the two bags of little mini eggs inside it. Will I get to try the new Clio whenever it gets to Ireland? I will, yes, I hope so, in the near future. I don't know how much new. I have to do a little bit of research to figure out whether it's actually new underneath or whether they've just tweaked the exterior to make it look nice, but it seems like a nice little car. Clio is lovely. I seen a picture from Geneva Motor Show the other day of the new interior that's coming for the Clio, and it looks outstanding. I mean, 5-door hatchbacks, where it's at, lad. You've got to be crazy thinking about your little SUVs and everything. The 5-door hatch is going to be absolutely amazing. Brian O'Donnell, windy in Cork, no snow, thank God. Roll on summer. Yeah, any day now, please. Summer, anytime you want. Even a bit of spring would be nice at the moment. We mowed the grass recently, and now it's after snowing. I don't know what's going on. Roger Starkey says, Top Gear to go all EV and to change the name to No Gear. I love it. You know what, that would probably work better than Top Gear is working currently. They should create a sub-brand called No Gear. That's what you do. That's it, because I created the next gear, so you can't have that. I did offer that to Jeremy Clarkson when he was trying to come up with a name for the Grand Tour. He should have taken it. I offered it. I did tweet him and I offered him, you can buy off the next gear if you want it, but he didn't take it. Peter Pendergrass, what would you say the best EV under 50k for BIK? They're all under 50k apart from Tesla. And Audi's bringing the e-tron. I haven't driven it. Looks nice though. But they are bringing the e-tron later on. That won't be under 50k. The only ones that are under 50k right now is the Volkswagen E-Golf. I really like the E-Golf. The range is a little bit short, but it's still a proper 5-door hatchback with a proper boot in it. So you can get a full family's worth of stuff into the car, as long as you're not doing big jumps, big journeys at a time. It does fast charge, it does, but the range is still a bit short. Kind of like 250 kilometers, 245. If you're going to be on motorways, it's a bit less again. The Hyundai Kona is the longest range. You're going to get about 400 kilometers to 450 out of that, depending on how you drive it again. Or no, 350 to 400 out of that, depending on how you drive it. Absolutely outstanding car, but very small. It is compromised in the boot. The boot is tiny. The back seat is quite small. The front seat is nice. It's a bit... watch the review of that one. You'll see for yourself on that. I did a review on both those cars. Nissan Leaf is very good. It's a proper 5-door hatch. 4-seat, really alright boot. A little bit weird looking, and I don't like that. It's kind of hard to get comfortable in because there's no reach. There's no reach in the steering wheel. I would choose for the family here an E-Golf, even though it's a little bit expensive. It's about 45 less 10, 35-ish with the grants, and then no BIK to pay. So go E-Golf. There you are. Decision made. George Websdale. Afternoon, Bob. Did you get to watch the link I posted a woman trying to put petrol in Tesla? I did, yes. Of course, it's always going to be that. If you drive a petrol car for your entire life and you start to get a fuel symbol up in the dashboard and you pull into a petrol station, you immediately pick up a petrol pump and go, no, this isn't petrol anymore. So some people just don't understand, and other people are just plain dumb. So I did get that. There's a little video going around of a woman trying to put petrol in a Tesla, which is funny. Paul Brown, late to the party. You're never late. You're never late unless it is 4 o'clock. Then you're late. Paul Brown, late to the party. Yes, we'll be there before 2030, Bob. Even red-blooded Alfa Romeo is going to plug in with their toenail. We'll see. Look, I'm not sure. We have a number of problems around going EV, going electric cars. One of the biggest problems right now is getting supply on the batteries. That has been holding up multiple supplies of things over the last while. It's just getting batteries. And then you've got thousands of people employed in factories that are making diesel and petrol engines. Thousands of jobs that would be just destroyed if we all went electric in one shot. Because electric engine is just a big coil wrapped around a magnet. That's basically it. The connected with drive shaft that goes the rest of the car. It just doesn't require the same level of technology that it does to make a petrol and diesel engine. So there's a lot of jobs need protected. There's a lot of these people who are going to end up. What do they do? Whole factories. Look at what's after happening in Honda. Honda just took 3,500 jobs and went, nope. That's nothing to do with electric. It's just to do with commercial reasons. But they just went, gone. Now, what happens to that whole town, that whole area around that, all the downstream jobs, all the guys that work in little takeaway food shops, coffee shops, all these things that are not directly attached to Honda factory, but 3,500 people were going there on a monthly basis to buy their coffee. What happens then? See, the future's not always pretty, even though they try and paint it pretty for you. It's not always the best thing to do, is to just dump everything out and start again. Michael Mangan. Never read that name before. Michael Mangan, you must be new here, so click the subscribe button. Hi Bob, if you were to consider Ireland a village, and assuming every village has an idiot, would you agree Shane Ross would at least be qualified for the job? I love it. That's brilliant, Michael Mangan. Absolutely brilliant. The village idiot, Shane Ross. He's definitely painted as a village idiot, and I have to say he's done very little to improve that image over the last while. He was brilliant in opposition. He sounded very eloquent when he took to floor in the Dáil and was able to read out all sorts of statistics and things over the time he was there. Now he's in power and he's under the party whip and he can't answer all those questions. He can't just talk off the top of his head and just doesn't seem interested in the position of Minister for Transport. I don't think many people are interested in Minister of Transport. But it'd be great if he was to actually just ask somebody to come and give him some advice who knows what they're talking about when it comes, who can take the side of the consumer. The consumer is being betrayed and we've elected them to betray us. Right now the sun is shining, it's blue sky and it's snowing at the same time. And that is not a joke. It actually is snowing with a blue sky. I've never seen weather like this before. It's weird in all my years. Paul Brown says, oh no, that's something else. John Murphy, hi Bob, I hope you're well. I am very well, John. Still alive, still moving. Tired, but moving. Because I work 7 days a week these days, so it's great. I don't take a day off at all. I will take a day off eventually. It will happen. I'll just slow down and stop. Shamrock, 1960-93. Bob, are you looking forward to F1 season? Or are you not into it? Biggest turn off, it's on Sky, so whereas the normal stations, UTV or ITV, now paid premium. That is the biggest problem, is that it's now gone from being something we can all watch together, no matter what your premium would be, whether you're on Sky or otherwise. But the problem is now that it's moved to a commercial station where you have to pay a premium to watch the thing. So, and I know it still exists on BBC. I know BBC still throw up the highlights and stuff from it. But realistically, it's still not that communal feel like this is, like the Sunday services. We can all come. Nobody has to pay any fees to watch this. There's no big deal here. Everyone just comes and just turn it on to watch it. And that's what has made this something that's attractive on a Sunday, whereas the Formula One is still a rich man sport, full of rich man problems, really, how to make more money and make it interesting. I mean, they now have nearly disposable engines. The environmental impact of some of these guys out there must be huge. These guys, they race an engine and then they dump it, put a new one in. It's crazy. Moving on. Paul O'Connor says a lot of insurance companies are issuing green cards as standard in Ireland to avoid the hassle. There you go. Paul Brown has put up a link there for Joe Rogan, aka Joe Rogan knows absolutely nothing about cars. Can I just point out? And very little about anything, but that's okay. All-American alpha male got an EV. This is what he had to say about it. I'm sure he got it for free and is doing a very commercially sensitive thing. That's there as well. Americans don't speak like we do. No one really, particularly on YouTube, talks about cars like I talk about cars, because I don't have any allegiance to anybody. I'm very likely, even though I have mates in the car industry who work in dealerships or work in car companies, I'm still very likely to hate your car. If I don't like it, that's it. Plus, I'm also very biased towards people who went out and bought a car. So buying a Tesla and then telling me the Tesla's brilliant is totally biased. You bought it. You thought it was brilliant already before you ever went near the thing. You thought it was the best. So your opinion now null and void in that car. So if you buy it, you're not allowed to review it. That's in my own head. Same as if I bought a car, I just wouldn't review it. Hi Bobby, are you having a cold? I think so. Somewhere in the back of my head, everything's starting to get all bunged up, but it's okay. I'll keep going. Brandon Donald, been looking at an Outlander PHEV, but noticed they're going up in price, fast in price over the last month, even 2015 reg. They are, because PHEV, electric, hybrid, particularly PHEV, but electric and hybrid are all going up. They're all desirable, so people are after them, but they're sort of going up in price. The problem is there's no customers buying them. The custom is still only 2% of the market, still tiny electric cars, and so is PHEV. And really, if you're looking at PHEV, you should be really looking at an electric car. They're nearly if you can make a PHEV actually work properly, you should be probably driving an electric car. Jerry Wicklow, is that really your last name, or is that where you're from and your first name? Anyway, hi Bob, have you seen these Chinese EV Candy EX3 with cleanup came here, rumored to be $30,000 US. I was standing in talking to an incredibly influential man the other day. I'll leave him nameless for the moment, but he's in the car industry, and he showed me pictures of a car that's been offered to him to import into Ireland from China. And honest to God, I don't know why anyone wouldn't bring it in. It's going to cost max €60,000, and I mean on your driveway, €60,000, and this thing is at least Model X level of technology from Tesla. Amazing thing. And Candy EX3, and there's multiple others. There's Brilliance. Brilliance are making electric cars very soon. They actually own shares in Volvo somewhere along the way. Anyway, they're another Chinese company. There's a load of them at it. They're all doing it, and there's going to be no end to that. It'll be worth a fortune over time, given enough time. I'm just going to check my email, make sure I haven't missed anybody. I did mention Raymond Grace already. Yes, I did. You too can support this channel should you want to. There is super chat here as well. You can click on the little dollar icon below the chat and support it that way. Any money is always welcome, of course it is. But also you can support it through PayPal if you want to do one-off payments. There is a link in the comments down below. And Patreon if you want to do a drip feed, like €1 a month or €2 a month if you want to do something really tiny. It was lovely, and it's all absolutely necessary, honest to God, to keep the channel moving. As you might have noticed from the video we put up this morning, where I was saying all the budget has been spent on one light, which is true. It was a work light as well. Make a difference. Stephen Costello, is hydrogen a non-runner? Are we being led to hybrid and electric and only to have to change to hydrogen in the future? The government pushes towards diesel and then back to petrol, now electric. The government, honest to God, Stephen, hasn't got a bull's notion what they're doing. Most of them have drivers. Most of them drive around in diesel-powered cars. Hardly any of them use our facilities out there for parking, for charging. They are completely unique. and have lost touch entirely with what drives Ireland. Transport is everything. Same as an army marches on a stomach. So if you can feed an army, you can keep an army happy. The exact same for the consumer out there. If you can move them around the country in a good and cohesive way, that country will be happy, because they can get to work, they can get to the shops, they can get home, they can do things, they can move about. If that involves a car, a bus, a train, a bicycle, running, walking, whatever it is, that's all that really matters. And at the moment, the only way we seem to be being rammed down the road is electric cars at the moment. Hydrogen is not a non-runner, but it's very expensive to extract the little hydrogen particles out of the steam that comes out of a hydrogen system. It's also really hard to store it, and its return is worse than petrol. So if you were to fill up a petrol tank full of hydrogen, you would only go about half the distance, much lower horsepower than petrol. So the problem is it's not terribly good at what it does. And even if you were to use hydrogen to charge a battery and the battery to charge the car, it's still not terribly good at doing that. So the return from it is quite expensive. And we just haven't had investment on it. All the investment shifted into electric. Well, some of it went into electric. The rest of it went into solving diesel and petrol. So the amount of money that's been spent on making diesel and petrol better, more efficient cars, that's where the money really has gone, and it will continue to go there. Calvin Nuts says, as Ireland is in the EU and will stay, I hope, for a long time, are any discussions to switch to driving side, or this be expensive for the country and cannot afford? To put you on, all of our motorways in Ireland were built both directions, so you can switch the direction of motorways at the click of a switch. All motorways, all our roundabouts, all our entrances, all our exits are completely reversible, so it's entirely possible on our motorways to change the side of the road you want to be on. You can do it as well, obviously, on every other road in the country. If you want to just turn the signs around, literally just turn the direction the sign has been facing. But can you imagine the chaos if you include Northern Ireland? You know, even if you built a wall there and take away from there, you get 5 million people, 4.5 to 5 million people. Out of that, 2.5 million people drive, and then you have buses and general transport like trucks and things. All of them overnight changing size of the road. It's totally possible, but the chaos for a little while, for a few weeks, will be a bit of a problem. But yeah, we could. There's no plans to do so, but we could definitely. If the UK leave Europe and we're left in Europe, we will be the only country in Europe driving on this side of the road. But we would have to switch the sides of the car as well. The steering would have to go to the other side of the car. Honestly, that would make cars much cheaper here in Ireland, because you're making a car for France, the same car comes out in Ireland. Same car in Germany, same car comes out in Ireland. No need to have an exclusive right-hand drive version of it. The only reason we have that is because we drive the same side of the road as the UK. But if the UK is going to go on their own, well, you know, let them off and we'll change the side of the road for the crack. Like, Cormaca has joined us. Afternoon, Mr. Flav. What do you reckon of James McCarthy from Nissan Ireland making comments about dirty diesels being imported from the UK? Reckon Brexit will give him what he wants, less UK imports. James McCarthy's a man I know. He's a lovely guy, but he is great for shooting from the hip. He does just go bang and here's your comment and go with it, and it makes headline news in general. But the problem for Nissan Ireland is right now that also the Nissan Leaf is being imported from the UK, along with all of the dirty diesels, as he calls dirty diesels. But there is dirty diesels coming, make no mistake. There is cars that would necessarily fail over here on CO2s, but they're coming in and they need to be NCT'd on landing, which is a part of it. But the biggest culprit behind all of these imports is the dealerships, not the consumer, the general consumer. It has risen under UK imports because sterling has lost its value. It's certainly risen for the home user, but definitely dealerships. I see it. I mean, all you got to do is open your door and look out, and you'll see a 40-foot truck pass by with deliveries for the local dealership and a load of yellow license plates on the back. So it's not just a little home user that's doing them for his dirty diesels, but certainly EU3, EU2 engines that were out in the UK years ago are being dumped off onto us, and we are the dumping ground for it. I promise you, check the history of your car. It's going to be a bit of a problem. Brian says, Bob, MotoGP is on and rugby is on soon. Try Screen Sunday. There you go. Pick one. Watch the 3 of them, or watch just one of them if you want to. Whatever you like. It's not a competition between the whole of them. I like a bit of MotoGP, but only when I see some interesting stuff going on. It's actually good to watch though. Donna Gamel says, hi Bob, which would you pick, a 2006 VW Phaeton 3-litre diesel or a 2006 S320 CDI? I would pick the Phaeton. Going to be worth a lot of money in the future because it's very rare to get one over here. Absolutely bulletproof engine, was built to the level of Bentley, of Rolls-Royce and everything else that they could throw at it. They wanted to have something like an Audi A8, but even more superior to that again. They killed it pretty much afterwards because it just didn't find any homes. Nobody wanted to buy a VW luxurious car. They all wanted to buy a Golf. So the Phaeton kind of faded out, but it is a beautiful, beautiful car to drive. Absolutely outstanding. The 3-litre diesel is smooth as silk and will cover ground like nothing else. You will never regret buying one. If you can, there's a service that is being done. You can change out the stereo in it to, like, you can buy them in Halfords. Change out the stereo to a more modern stereo. You can get yourself Bluetooth and Apple CarPlay and all in your VW Phaeton from 2006. But definitely, that's the one I pick out of two of them. The S320 CDI is a nice car, but that engine came with so many pushrod problems. It burns gaskets. It burns oil. It's got all kinds of effort and problem when it gets older, so stay away. Unless you know what you're doing and you know what you're looking for, stay away from it. But the 3-litre diesel from the Phaeton will outlive you, probably, Donna. Thank you very much for your question. Don't forget to subscribe, please, while you're here, and click the like button and do the stuff. You know, the stuff that people ask you to do on YouTube, and everyone goes, oh, it's very annoying when you're asked to do it, but you don't do it until you're asked to do it, and YouTube continually asks us to ask you to do it. So click the like button, click the super chat button, click the smiley buttons, or whatever other buttons are there. Just click stuff, right? Powell says, Bob, I saw on the streets that there was a facelift Mondeo Mark V Estate, different rear lights and chromed bar between them. I'm not talking about the US version. Hatch and saloon, no changes. The Mondeo has somewhat fallen behind itself. It's a very big car. I do like the Mondeo. It's a lovely thing to sit in, particularly with a power shift, an automatic box. It's a lovely yoke to just trundle about in, but it does feel very heavy and you know, a bit too heavy, like a big chunky thing, but it doesn't really have that appeal. So it's a weird sort of a car. I like it, but I don't like it. It wouldn't be something that I'd just run out and buy for myself. I do recommend it for those kind of guys who do very high mileage. It's really comfy. The Passat is where probably that segment is being ruled by at the moment, is the Passat. The Mondeo holds its own, but just about in that saloon area. And then there's so many other kind of smaller saloons, like the i40, what's a Kia version of that, whatever that is. You know, so there's different ones in between there that kind of aren't quite the full size, but are actually substantially cheaper. So there's a good few there, but there's no changes to the Mondeo really forecast in the future. I'm not even sure Ford are going to continue doing it. They cancelled out everything bar their trucks in the US, which are the Ford F-150 or whatever out there, still their top selling vehicle in the whole wide world. And I want their Mustang, and I want their Ford Focus RS, which is an amazing vehicle. Anyway, Bob, about the Kuga with Goodyear tyres. She had them fitted before the basic service. Then the service had them swapped for cheap Triangle tyres without her consent. That's a scam. Oh, right, okay. That is a scam. Definitely, that is a scam. I would have no fear about standing outside of that dealership with a placard over my head, walking up and down and blocking entry for anyone who wants to go into it. They'll pay attention to you fairly fast. Your right to protest in Ireland is protected. You are entitled to have peaceful protests in this country, and you're entitled to the protection of the Gardaí while you have these peaceful protests. Just make sure it stays peaceful. That's the most important part. But I have no problem recommending that sort of stuff. Protest at any point, anywhere you want. Get your whole family, go up there and block entrance to the whole thing and have a totally peaceful protest. They will very, very quickly get you whatever you want to do when their business is affected by your behaviour. And I'm not talking about going on Joe Duffy or going on the Facebook page and going, this business isn't much good. Physically go up there and tell them what you're looking for. And that's how it works. Don't ever be scammed like that by any dealership. It is fraudulent. It is a fierce offence. And should be banned, and your business, you lose business because of it. Sure. James Dunn, I got my new Sunday pleasure drive. It's a 1984 Opel Monza. Oh, brilliant car. 3-litre straight 6 in mint condition with the dealer Opel Team Ireland livery on it. I might bring it to next Sunday service meeting. Please do, James. I'd love to see that. An Opel Monza from 1984. What an amazing car, particularly that straight 6 engine. makes a beautiful burble noise, and when it gets up to the top of the burble noise, it really does make a great noise. Love it. Bob John Cardigan loves the Subaru, so they're doing good in Australia. They must be pumping money into the Australian market. Subaru's always been strong in Australia, in fairness to them. Weirdly, Australia is the Australasian market, so they get a lot of Asian cars on there. Things that do really well is like Hyundai, Kia, Subaru, Toyota, Nissan. They've always done well. The ones that have always struggled out there have been the American brands, always the American brands. They used to have Holden and Commodore. Both them are dead now at this stage, I think. I don't know if they even make those cars out there anymore. So it's an odd market. It's an upside down market. Sorry, Australia. Brian Cullen, 1442, 120 punters in the house. Good man. What time are we at now? 15:13. So I'm answering, bloody hell, I'm answering questions from over a half an hour ago. I'm going to take a slurp of my water here. No, I haven't. Only water today. No coffee, no wine, no nothing. It's a bad day. I know I don't drink wine in this live stream. Not yet. Danius, I can't pronounce your last name. It's got lots of little grav accents and lines over. It's brilliant. There's an 08 Tida in Kildare on done deal for 850 quid. Is there? Somebody phone Paul and tell him I need some money. We need to go. No, we need a budget. We need a budget to go out and buy something like that and destroy it. Actually, you know what I'd love to do is actually properly review a Nissan Tida from 08 or 09 or whatever year it is. Just properly review one by today's standards. And then take a sledgehammer to it. Cross says the really hilarious thing is that for years H2 vehicles were supposed to be the bridge fuel from true zero emissions EVs. Then EVs leapfrog them. That's usually what always happens, is where the money goes, where tech goes. See, car companies realize that electric cars are actually cheap to make and cheap to run and cheap to, they come with very few drawbacks, and there is a desire there among owners to own an EV, but the relationship between desire and actual purchase is quite some distance apart. So a lot of people who can't afford to make that jump, and it's a big jump. When you're driving a car that's 25 grand and you're going to buy a car that's 50 grand, that's a big jump. Like, it's a lot of money, and then you don't know where it's going to be. Since EV started, in the last 10 years, the range of EVs, I mean the physical range a car can drive, has more than doubled in the last 10 years. Now, in the next 10 years, will that happen again? Will you be left with a car that's only able to do 120, 130 kilometres on one charge, and you're looking at cars that can do nearly 1,000 kilometres on a charge? I would say yes. I would say 600 kilometres is definitely a realistic level once Audi and Mercedes and BMW really take the gloves off and start pushing into that part. But yet, all the conversations I've had with Audi Group, with Volkswagen Group, BMW Group, meeting guys from BMW next week. We're talking about the 3 Series Z4. We'll be talking about electric cars as well. These guys that I've met, they've all gone, yeah, we're investing money in it. We're making a single model or 2 models or a range of electric models or some hybrids, but we're not really giving it the beans. We're not going to transfer all of our eggs into one basket. The only one that's doing that is Toyota, who've said, nope, no more diesels. We're just going to make hybrids now. But even they aren't going all electric. So there's a disconnect between what we've been told on one hand and what's actually happening on the other hand. Another Tida on average for 450 in Tipperary. See, you're all looking up Tidas now because I hate them. I just go, man, but Tida, I just want to kick it to pieces just for fun. I'd be happy doing that. I could be left alone quite happily with a small hammer, even a small like ball hammer, and a Tida for a little while. I could make a totally different car out of that. Anyway. Johnny Morris says some ships, ferries measure their diesel usage in tons per hour, not litre. Think hydrogen cell will be the future for boats. Nuclear. You think of all of the military ships that are out there, like aircraft carriers and all that, running on nuclear power. What's wrong with that? Nuclear is brilliant. I mean, for running a massive ship like that, brilliant. Diesel is wrong for those kind of things. Like you said, measuring. What? My wife points out where to get rid of nuclear waste, but I don't know. I don't have the answer to that, but it's definitely less output from nuclear than there would be. I mean, direct output from nuclear than there would be from running tons of diesels per hour on those ferries, which millions of them are in the water at any one time. Doc Chiltron says smart meters don't work. They tried them here in Canada and ended up scrapping the program. Did they? Really? See, conflicting information coming in from all over the place. Des Chambers says Meant to say mostly EV owners will charge up at home and start every day with a full charge given the increased range now available. How often would you really need a fat charger? That's true. That's the problem here in Ireland is I see all these companies, and I get invites from companies as well, come to our opening of our electric charge station and stuff, and it's great. I love that. I'm very encouraging of Irish businesses trying that, but the real goal is that you don't charge on the street, that you don't need to charge when you're out, that you actually just get all of your charge while you're home. That's much more control because it's on your bill, right? It's on your electricity bill. Or you've got a meter where you put your card in, you charge up your electric meter and you charge your car from that. But the reason to have a fast charger is only in emergencies. That's the point. That was always the point of a fast charger, by the way. That was always the point, was to get you the rest of your journey. So you crossed half the country, you got your fast charge, you crossed the other half of the country. That was always the point. But I think the day of the fast charger is going to be quite short. I don't imagine we're going to have a very long wait. I mean, I can go from here to Galway on Kona and drive back on the same charge. So if I can do that already in 5 years' time, I'll definitely be able to go from Cork to Dublin in one go and get a slow charge at the other end. VW fan, they're relaunching the Nissan Tiida with a V8. So I heard from the Geneva Motor Show will transform my opinion on the car. I'll keep the engine and dump the car around the edge of it. It would want to be brilliant. For honest to God, if Nissan has any intention of launching a new Tiida at any point, please God invite me along to the launch of it. It'd be great crack. Ferries in Scandinavia have battery banks on each dock. They fast charge the electric ferry fast, ready for the next trip, assuming there's some PV involved in charging the dock battery. The thing, Northern Europe, I mean Norway, Scandinavia, that kind of area up there, they've made all of their money from oil and gas reserves, and then they spend all of their money on getting electric cars to work. It's kind of a juxtaposition up there. They have plenty of money to spend, which is a big part of it, and they can make very quick jumps like that and kind of jump ahead and do stuff. And I know in Northern England is at it as well. If you go up to what do you call those islands at the very top of Scotland, there's a great electric run up there as well, on how they're running their entire area, because it's a small little island. It can run off their wind power, their solar power, and so on. So it all has a future, but it all will take time to change it over. It's not, no one can get left behind by it. That's the biggest problem we have right now, is a consumer is often left behind. The ordinary consumer out there, who makes an ordinary wage, or even someone who's on the dole and just can't, they have a car, they can't afford to move from that car to anything else. It's just not possible for them. They all have to be brought along as well. They will all have to buy our second-hand cars. So the second-hand cars will be worth buying in the first place. Who wants to buy a Generation 1 Nissan Leaf now? Only someone who does really short mileage, doesn't really need a car. Annie McPhee, the online mothistory.gov site is only for GB. NI misses out on it tragically, does it? Majority of Great Britain imports both sides of the border here, get sourced direct from auctions and clocked over here. That's what's happening in our country as well, is that they're brought in from a dealership in Manchester or an auction in Manchester or whatever. They're on the ferry, they're brought over here, and then they're clocked on this side. So it does change. Bobby, do you subscribe to the conspiracy by car manufacturers and retail outlets like Circle K and Starbucks is the reason why cars don't have built-in coffee machines? You know, I don't. I'll tell you why. Because Fiat, when the Fiat 500L came out at the launch, which was in Madrid, no, it wasn't. It was in Milan. They took over a whole train station, an ex-train station in the middle of Milan, and they put us all on a platform. And then the whole press conference moved down the platform, and what we were sitting on started to move as well. It was gas. We're on this little tiny train. They must have spent a couple of million on just doing this press launch for a Fiat 500L. Many women all over the place, being an Italian brand, there's women everywhere, and it beats by Dr. Dre. Headphones for us to test as if that was the sound inside the car. Made no sense. But in the back of all of that, they had a coffee machine that you could spec as an optional extra in a Fiat 500L 4 or 5 years ago. So you could have a coffee machine in your car all you want. It was a little coffee machine, did all the thing in your car, 100% on the dashboard. And they also did a little coffee holder thing, and they did all sorts of stuff in it. It was very clever. I don't know if anyone actually spec'd the thing, but it was there. It was on display at the time. It was brilliant. But I tell you, I want to make a video on the food that's available for Circle K, Apple Green, Starbucks, all that sort of stuff for drivers out there, because the most of this brown muck is all I see when you go along to a petrol station. You walk in and go, sausage rolls, sausages, wedges, all browns, all different shades of brown, all the food. So it's that's more of my interest, actually, to be honest with you, but that's me. Imagine the new car order sheet in that World IQ, leather, Android Auto, reversing camera, and Starbucks. Yeah, wouldn't that be gas? Imagine a Starbucks in the boot. Could I have a... You imagine opening a boot and you got one of those big silver coffee machines with the knobs and things going psst with the steam and everything. That'd be funny. I'd like that, actually. You can get a drinks cabinet put into a Land Rover. It's on the option sheet. I mean, it's actually on the option sheet as a drinks cabinet to actually have bottles of whiskey and things in the boot of the car. It's gas. It doesn't make any sense for a car to do that, but they do it. Johnny Morris says global warming was always going to make the climate change. Some places will get drier and warmer in summer and colder and wetter in winter. California, Texas and Australia are suffering heat waves. There's chunks of India, chunks of Australia that's completely uninhabitable during the summer. Temperatures going up to 75 degrees in India. Can you imagine 75 degrees? That's that's keeping plates warm in an oven. Easy. But as Ireland goes, we're still temperate. So this kind of weather, it's weird weather. It's weather that we're looking at rather than climate change. We're looking at weather patterns at the moment. So, but I do find it very difficult to take anything Met Éireann says seriously lately. Everything they say, last week when I was given the snow stuff, I was sitting here looking at 2 foot of snow dropping out of the sky. They didn't even predict that. There was no weather warning at all. Today, they gave out a yellow weather warning for snow and ice, and we have blue sky with snow at the same time. So I don't think they're very good at predicting stuff anymore. Brian says, you're dead right, Bob. Tesla is a cult, closing down showrooms. Why would you buy a proprietary vehicle? Nobody to fix it. Then people raving about them will be sorry when they break and depreciate. The thing is, the people who are raving about them are American people who are close to places that will fix their cars. But when I look at Twitter, and I had a man the other night who tweeted me and Elon Musk in the same tweet. I don't know why he tweeted me. Elon Musk doesn't answer my tweets. I've tried. But he tweeted me because he can't get his car repaired. He has a Tesla. He has a problem. There's a light on the dashboard. He doesn't know what the light is. He can't figure it out. There's no dealership to go to. No ordinary dealer knows anything about Teslas. They don't want to know about them either. And the Tesla dealership in Dublin is finished. So he's nowhere to go. And he now when you have people who are online who are begging the owner of the company to help them through Twitter is the only support that they got. That is wrong. That is wrong on so many levels. Nobody's tweeting the managing director of Volkswagen Group in Germany for help about their Volkswagen to go to the dealership to get it. That's the problem with the dealership infrastructure when it comes to Tesla. They don't have one. So if you're in West Cork and you buy yourself a Tesla and it breaks down, you're on your own. They've got a Tesla van that'll come out to you, but you're subject to its requirements. If it's already out fixing Tesla, you'll just have to wait. Or the AA, and God forbid you have to join the AA to fix your Tesla, because they can't do anything for you either. There's no fixable parts in it. You're not allowed to fix it, unlike every other car in the market that you can buy and do anything you want to yourself. Clarkson should have jumped at the next gear, offering what would you have replaced it with. Keeping is the best thing. It may very well prove to make more of it than the three Amigos could have. True, yeah. That's in relation to me offering Jeremy Clarkson when he went to the Grand Tour first. It wasn't called a Grand Tour. He was tweeting about trying to find a name for it, and I did tweet him and said, listen, I own thenextgear.com. If you want to take that thing, you can offer me a lot of money and I will sell it to you. I would have called it something else. I don't know. I would have come up with something else, but I only ever call it the next gear because it's, see, you've got fifth gear, of which that doesn't work anymore because now cars, even manual cars, come with 6 gears. And then automatic gearboxes go up to 8 or 9. Then you have top gear, which is good because there's no other gear. Top gear is always top, but they're losing their brand as well. And then you have the next gear. So even if there's a top gear, there's always a next gear. See, that was my thing. But they went with the Grand Tour, which now it doesn't tour. It just goes into Clarkson's backyard. And from next season, there will be no Clarkson backyard even. There'll just be overseas driving around stuff. But I have to say, Grand Tour this season, if you want to pick a season to go and watch, this is the one to watch. It is properly funny. Now, you still have to put your brain in your back pocket a little bit and just take it as being a funny thing to watch rather than being a car show. But there was in the episode the other night, he reviewed a BMW M5, Clarkson did, and it was Clarkson being the master videographer, writer that he can be. it was a masterclass in how to do a video review of something and keep me interested through the whole thing. Even though I've driven all the cars he's talking about, I still was very interested in the whole lot. Richa237 says, hi Bob, thinking of getting a Volvo XC40 T5 all-wheel drive. What do you think? Just wiped through a spot of Suzuki Vitara 4x4, bloody great car for her. Yes, buy the Volvo XC40 T5. If you are an Instagram user, I am on Instagram, you will find me there, but you will also find me on the the Volvo Ireland ad that's running currently on Instagram. Is my big face talking about the Volvo XC40, and so my word is spreading wider and wider every day. But you'll find me there used on an ad. It's not an ad, it's just me talking about the Volvo XC40 as being a car that I enjoyed and why it was Irish Car of the Year on behalf of the APMP, the Association of Professional Motoring Journalists in Ireland, Motoring Press in Ireland. It was me talking on behalf of them as what the jury thought of the car, and Volvo thought it was good enough to use as their ad on their Instagram account. So I think it's a great car. The Volvo XC40 is one of the prettiest cars Volvo's ever made. The T5 is a great car. All-wheel drive, it does eat a little bit of fuel. Unless you really need all-wheel drive, I wouldn't bother. I'd just go for the standard front-wheel drive, but it's still a great car. Either one. John Coleman, hi Bob, Audi e-tron, great car, test drove it last week, only had 400 km range, but it would not suit me. Also 110,000, so not very expensive. That is a serious investment of cash for any car. 110 grand, man, that makes your eyes water if you really think about that kind of money. John, being a full-time supporter of the channel here, I know as a businessman, I know I'll be looking at that from a business perspective as well. And 110k down, even writing some of that off in tax and trying to find BIK back out of it again, still makes for quite an investment of car. And then 400 kilometer range, I get it. I know there are points. The next question down, of course, is Johnny Morris saying, "Do you ever drive 400 kilometers without stopping?" I have. There's nothing more reassuring than jumping into an Audi A6, going start, and the first thing it says in a full tank is range 1235 kilometers before it's empty. Like, you can circumnavigate the whole coastline of Ireland and still not be out of diesel if you want to. The thing is, I want to be able to drive further than 400 kilometers, and so if it can't do it, then I won't buy it. So it's not a matter of convincing people, it's a matter of the tech catching up on what people's thinking about cars. Snazbot says, thanks very much for your help. Sorry I didn't not say please. All the best, no problem. Bobby, which car reviewer do you look up to most? Car Wows, Matt Byer. I don't really look up to any car reviewer, just plough my own furrow, so to speak. The biggest influence has always been from Top Gear and Fifth Gear and the TV land of stuff, which is what I grew up watching before I made my own YouTube channel. That's really what I watched. I didn't really think about, after I started making car reviews on the internet, I never really watched anybody else's because it's very easy to get jaded by their opinion of the car. Now, I do get influenced by sitting down with other journalists as a group and talking about cars. That's a great way of picking up what someone else may have spotted something you didn't spot, or they think something you don't think, or whatever it is. But I don't really watch. I wouldn't say Matt on Car Wow would be an influence. I'd say we probably influence each other at some point or another. I'd say everybody watches someone on the internet. I know there's a lot of copycats at the moment of the way I do car reviews, and that's okay because mine's probably not original either. It's probably coming from Top Gear or come from someone else in that respect. So it's taken me a long time to get this far, but I don't really watch other people's car reviews in case it gets out of hand and it influences the way I feel about a car, and I think it's crap because they thought it was crap and I'm completely wrong. So I try not to watch too much of it unless I've already reviewed it, of course. But there's no one out there as influence right now. Again, it's only Top Gear, Clarkson, something like that maybe influenced the way I think about a car, how I approach a car review, or the different way of doing it. But they have big budgets. I don't have any budget. Matt Watson has a budget. He has a team work with him. I work alone, so it's very hard for me to start. If I'm being compared to Matt Watson, that's a benefit for me because I work totally alone on the car reviews. James Doodle says, hello Bob, this is the best couple of hours of the weekend. Thank you very much. You're most kind. Subscribe, thanks. 2018 BMW 520 diesel M Sport or SE, Merc 220 diesel. What would you suggest, BMW or Merc? A BMW M Sport or SE? Thanks. Now, okay, so what you get M Sport over SE is only a spec change. You're not going to get different suspension or different chassis or gearbox or nothing else, right? So the difference between the two is visual like alloys, and you know, you might get different seats or something inside. It'll be more of a visual thing. So M Sport gets you more stuff than SE. SE gets you more comfortable. That's an easy way to remember that, because you get thicker tires and a softer seat. The M Sport gets a little firmer seat and thinner tires and a bigger wheel. So that's the difference between two of them. Now, a 2018 BMW 520 diesel sounds like you're going to import something, or you're looking for an ex-fleet car. Do your history checks. For God's sake, do your history checks. Don't squander money down the toilet by just buying a car and thinking, it'll be fine. Do your history checks. Make sure it hasn't been written off, or any sort of category written off or otherwise. BMW 520 is the nicer drive of the two. Buy the rear wheel drive, do not buy X drive. Merc 220 diesel is a lovely car, but it hasn't got the same driving ability as a 5 Series. Merc is also marginally more expensive to do repairs on. BMW is probably pretty much the same as a Merc. Audi would actually be cheaper to do repairs on than the BMW or the Merc, but you're not listing Audi, so I don't want to list Audi there for you. But I would take, out of those choices you've offered, I would go to 520 diesel M Sport, and I would buy an automatic, not X-Drive, rear-wheel drive, standard. But just remember, in the winter, you're going to have to learn how to drive for winter. I watched a guy last week on the ramp down to Tesco's, back wheel spinning like an absolute lunatic, had no clue what he was doing, trying to get up the ramp, and ended up bopping against the wall, just lightly, but enough to break all the back lights. It was funny to watch. And yet this morning I went out in a 5-litre V8 Mustang in the snow, and it was fine. If you've done it before, it's easy. I've driven in Finland and all sorts of snowy environments, and done training with race drivers and how to drive in the snow, so it's funny. Lee Coe from Lee Collins, Copenhagen. Would you be more positive for petrol diesel cars if there was no NOx or particulates from exhaust tanks? Yes, I certainly would. If that's what investment is happening in right now. Lower the NOx from diesel and lower the CO2 from petrol, because petrol puts out more CO2, diesel puts out more NOx. So NOx is only a problem in built up areas. So NOx is a heavy particulate. It's a weird sort of a particulate. It comes out the back of the exhaust and it falls onto the ground. But as cars drive through it, they hoover it up into their air system, and it comes out through the vents inside your cabin. And it also is stirred up by the car on the road and goes up against the walls on both sides of built up areas, and then comes back over and back onto the paths and poisons everybody. So it is a really bad thing, NOx. And the problem is we have so many diesel cars on the road that NOx is a big deal. If they could get rid of the NOx or somehow lower it down to next to zero, I'd be more interested in it. But other than that, I wouldn't be that interested in having NOx near me. But I don't live in a built-up area, so I'm not too bad. I'm okay with the NOx thing. But if I lived in a city, I'd be very concerned about it. I think diesel and petrol cars should probably end up being banned from Dublin city centre at least. And from Paris, I've been in Paris city centre where it's chock-a-block. You can't breathe for the colour of the smoke in the air. It's horrible, absolutely horrible when it's not windy in Paris. It's dreadful. Do you think that the craze in the Philippines will catch on in Europe of toilets being integrated into car seats, Toyota fitting them as an option there since 2017? Not if I can help it, I won't. The only one reason you want a toilet in the car is that the car is not driving, so you're not going anywhere. Other than that, buy a nappy, right, if you really need one. Peter Hall says, hi Ian. Who's Ian? Mini eggs. Glad survival kit arrived. It certainly did. One's empty, one's going to be empty this evening. Had a sit back of the Mazda 6 Estate the other day. I was surprised by the low bump in the roof line to make room for the sunroof to slide back. It's very claustrophobic. It is, isn't it? Yeah, it's kind of funny that way. I still love the Mazda 6 though. It's such a nice car. I have an estate one on test soon. I think I put a split week on that one for some reason. But anyway, I do have an estate one on test very shortly. But a Mazda 6 is still one of my favourite cars. What time are we at? 15:36. I am answering questions from 35 minutes ago. I do apologise. I am catching up though. I will catch up eventually, I'm sure. Calanuts, regarding the switching sides, I can imagine that Northern Ireland and Ireland will become, in the near future, maybe not one country, but the same entity. Whoa. You're asking for hundreds of years of things to be dismissed. I don't know. I think I actually will. I think we'll probably hold a referendum at some point in the future about becoming a single country and taking the 6 counties back onto our side, so we'd have a full country again. We have 6.5 million people then living in Ireland total between the two countries. I'd have no problem. I think it should be opened up to a referendum at some point, but I'd have no problem with Northern Ireland coming in part of Ireland. They're a lovely bunch of lads for the most part up in Northern Ireland. I do let them. Roger Starkey, IQ imagery sounds like, but I don't know what that means. Someone has all getting you good man Andy is our moderator. Don't upset Andy. Andy will get very upset with you all and start absolutely murdering everybody and banning people left, right and centre. He's just vicious. He's vicious is what Andy McAfee is. Sedenko says, hi Bob, I recently watched an Irish video about the new Honda CR-V hybrid and I was impressed. What's your opinion? I think it's dipping a toe in a funny market. Honda has never really made a decent effort at making a European car, and I know that sounds really kind of poor. I'm not coming down on Honda. They make great cars, really good cars, but for a European taste they've got a funny way of going on. They do make really good cars for the US and the Asian market and the Australian market and things, but they've never really pushed hard at a European car, and I think the CR-V hybrid kind of gets closer, but still not quite there. But we'll see over the next few months. Maybe people will be convinced to buy it. I have a Honda dealership near me here. I will get a spin of I couldn't get to the launch of the hybrid, but I'll get a spin of the hybrid one eventually, I'm sure. And hopefully it'll be better than I think it is. But right now the king of hybrid is Toyota, and that's not because Toyota support me in any way, shape or form. They don't, but they've done hybrid for so long. They're an amazing system that they've got working, and it works. I can make it work for me for sure. Brian Donald's off. He's going to work. Come on, Brian, enjoy your work. Don't go too wild. Andy McAfee. The stew is in the slow cooker now. Well, I'm back in games room. Sandwich bar and feed up. Oh, you have a games room? I'm gonna have to visit you someday. I really will. Not only a bus driver, the games room as well. It's great. Huggles Cake has joined from the US. Good to have you. Where did Thomas O go? That just hopped forward on me there. I'll catch him again. Hold on. Stay still. Stay still. Thomas O. Hi Bob. Great chat. Will UK car import procedures change after Brexit or remain the same? Registering day. The getting the car out of the UK into Ireland will change. Yeah, once it's in Ireland, that won't change. The part of going to the NCT centre and having to change your licence plates over immediately and getting it all tested and things, I don't think that'll change. But I'd say you would probably need some sort of an import, if depending on the kind of Brexit that happens, you will need some sort of an import or export document to say how you're importing and exporting. It's not that long ago that we used to go to Europe and have to, as camera crew, and you would go with a carnet. You still need it in certain parts of Europe now, particularly going into Russia and things. You think on a carnet, it's a document that tells the customs crowd exactly what you have with you, listed out piece by piece by piece in this giant document. They sign it on your entry into the country. You drive across the country, leave the country to the other side, and you take out your carnet and you take out all your equipment, and they go through it to make sure that everything is exactly the same. You haven't sold that, you haven't changed that, you haven't bought that, and then you get your written off and you go again. That was called a carnet. Now that could come back in for going to the UK. That's very possible to happen because that's already established practice as using a carnet. Again, it's gone black outside and we're about to get another dump of snow. None of it's staying, by the way. It's just coming down like hailstones. So I would imagine that is going to happen at some point, Thomas. But once you actually get the car on the ferry and over here and you have your carnet and you have all your stuff to go with it, I'd say the registration for the car will remain the same over here. More Coffee says, hello all, have a great Sunday. Thanks very much. Powell says, Bob, last week I was in a Kia dealership and I sat in a new Ceed, new Sportage and the old Optima. Damn, it has to be so high quality materials. Do you think they will overtake the European cars? Europe is part of their market. Hyundai particularly will be very strong in the US. Kia is very strong in Australasia. In general, they're a very strong company. A lot of money to throw at stuff as well. They'll go electric in a big way. They'll do that sort of stuff. I'm not sure they have operations in Europe. We're reminded constantly at launches that it's a European car designed in Europe by Europe, and it's just happened to be built in Korea, but it's designed in Europe. So there is an element of wanting to push into the European market, but the European market generally is on a downturn. Car market, it's falling, not rising. So this is a problem, and will continue to be a problem in the future. As you painting there. By the way, the Kia Optima hasn't got 2-litre CRDI engine. No, that's gone. It's can't make the emissions work on it. That's the only problem why I would choose the Optima instead of the Passat Superb Mondeo 508. A lot of engines are gone, by the way, for cars, forthcoming cars, because of WLTP has killed them all. It's just gone, like it's like dark. It just went dark outside. Really weird. Please, Bob, my uncle is convinced the main reason VW gets such good reviews is the big car reviewers are treated very well at car launches. What's your opinion on this? Thank you for your time. Not untrue. Every car company treats you very well. They have to, because they got to get you there in the first place, right? So professionals like me would go along to a car launch because I only care about the car. I don't give a crap about the rest of it. But bigger, we'll say things like What Car or I don't know, one of those big UK magazines is still a very strong seller. Those guys will have to pick and choose because they can't get to everything. So they send freelancers, ringers, stringers, whatever way you want to name. There's a name for stringers, what you normally call it. Stringer out in a different part. But they would send anybody. So the reason you get treated very well is because, firstly, it would have to be better than your house where you're staying. Why would you go and stay in a Premier Inn or something, right? Two, a lot of these guys, if you look at people like Phil Huff or someone like that online, they're just on a plane all the time, everywhere. They're in airports everywhere. They're constantly out there trying to sell. They make money. They're trying to sell their reviews to everybody. They get invited on a lot of stuff. They go on behalf of various publications. They work for maybe What Car today, Top Gear tomorrow, and so on. And so they are constantly going. So if you're not going somewhere nice, you're going to be fairly fed up with the car immediately, if it's not at least a nice place to sleep, right? And most of the time, we, me included, will go on these launches, drive around all day long, get your lunch, drive around some more, sit in a press conference till 10 or 11 o'clock at night time, eat your dinner and go to bed. That's your whole day. Next day you get up, you drive to an airport and you're off again somewhere else. So I turn down a lot of launch stuff these days because I just haven't the time to be at all of them. You can't do all of them. But it's certainly, Volkswagen get good reviews because they make good cars, not because of their, I mean, why would you review a car to be good overseas, then you get the car here in Ireland where you're not being treated well, you're just getting a car. What are you going to do with it then? How are you going to get your review going? More Coffee says the boss of Audi said last week that it'll be 30% electric in 2025, so 70% still fuels. All the excitement press coverage is with electric. It is, they all have to talk about electric, but I don't think it's got that kind of a future. I really don't think we're going to be 100% electric in the next 10 to 15, 20 years. I really don't think for the next 50 years we're going to be 100% electric. I think it's a stepping stone. I think it's part of a solution in the future, but it's not the total solution to everything. I think it's part of it. It's on the way there, but it's not quite there yet. What do you think of Nissan cutting their Pulsar? Not surprising, to be honest with you. Again, not a car that sold well, was thought of well. It's a very Asian car. It's not a bad yoke to drive. It's not a great yoke to drive either, though. That's the problem. And Nissan are really looking at their list. Nissan are being hampered massively by Renault. Their tie-up with Renault. Renault saved Nissan's ass. Don't make no mistake. Nissan was going out of business. Renault bought them and saved them and created the Renault-Nissan alliance, which created its own problem. As Gosen, as we've heard recently, MD of the whole group, is being, well, allegedly has been embezzling money or changing shares or buying shares in the background or whatever. So it's a problem. It's a problem for them. It's a problem for us. It's a problem for Nissan. They're very hampered by their relationship with Renault. They're very hampered in their operations in Europe because if Nissan are too big, they're taking money off Renault, which is their parent company. It's where all the money is. So it's a bit of a problem, you know. What do you think of the Chinese-made MG3? I try not to. If Chinese cars, unless, look, I haven't driven that many Chinese cars, so only if it's here. If anybody from China, car companies wanted me to come over to China and have her drive your car, phone me up, you know. Pay me some love, then I'll go and talk about it. If everyone in Ireland was to slowly swap over to EV over the space of 5 to 10 years, how much would ESB need to expand their capacity or output just to cope with the demand? And would it be realistic? They wouldn't have to expand at all, to be honest with you. We're not on a knife edge here of any way, shape or form with ESB and how much power they can put out. There is always a surplus. It is always down to demand. So ESB is able to create more electricity if the demand goes up. Now, that doesn't mean that if everybody in Ireland today bought an electric car, that ESB wouldn't be in trouble, but that's very unlikely to happen. There is definitely spare capacity in the ESB network. I have spoken on multiple occasions to ESB network employees who can tell me immediately how many transformers are out there and how much work and pressure they are under at any one time. There's a number of good websites out there and ones that are backed by the ESB that tell you where the energy is actually coming from at the moment, whether it's coming from renewable or fossil fuels in the ESB network. I'd like to see the ESB transfer over to be more environmentally friendly and get rid of their turf-fired, coal-fired stuff and start really putting an emphasis on renewables. That is happening, but it is meeting massive resistance across Ireland because nobody wants a wind farm out the back of their house. EV charging pretty much fits into the dip of power demand at night. There's very little need for additional generation to accommodate a 100% EV fleet. That's from Cross. That's true. Most people do charge. I did as well. Every electric car I've had here has always been charged overnight. I've never really charged it during the day. Never needed it. Only PHEVs, funny enough, they're the ones that run out 30 kilometers, 40 kilometers, bang, empty, and you got to start again. So that's the ones that end up being charged in a day. Andy McPhee says, I picked up a wee low mileage Mark 6 diesel Fiesta and have left my new car budget aside while I sit back and see how EV market develops over the next 3 years. I'd be the very same. If I was thinking about buying an EV and I'm not an early adopter, I would buy something next year maybe mid next year. By then we'll have seen a few more models on the market. Don't forget there's only about 8 or 9 models of the market at the moment that is totally EV, so that is a problem. Unless you like Cross, who has 3 EVs, because EV, some people love it, some people just know exactly what they're doing and they can accept it like bang, yes, I understand all there is to know. It's like handing me a laptop. I know what I'm doing with a laptop, but if I hand that to Paul McGann, the other half on the garage part, no. Don't know. Tech is not his thing, so he prefers a hammer and a welder or something. Johnny Morris, the Scandinavians take climate change seriously. That's why they all have 45% EV adoption. That's not true, Johnny, by the way. CC is various. All coral reefs to be dead by 2024. All fish gone by 2050 and 1.5 degrees. I understand all that. That's not why Scandinavians take it seriously. Scandinavia made all of its money and still persists in making all of its money from fossil fuels. The Scandinavian groups up there have been pumping out petrol, diesel, oil and gas for multiple generations. They have destroyed large parts of their own environment through this system, but it's given them the money to appear like they care about the environment and that they all drive EVs. The reason they drive EVs is because they tax the shite out of petrol and diesel at the pumps, making them seem incredibly expensive, and so they, by comparison, the electric cars look cheap. So it's not true to say that Scandinavians take climate change seriously. They don't do everything right. They have persistently, and right now, they still have all the rights on their gas and on their fossil fuels. And that's where they make their money, which means that they make money from fossil fuels that they spend on electric cars or on environmentally good solutions. And we keep holding them up because as if they're doing everything right. They don't do everything right. Don't be silly. We just don't have the money to spend on it over here. Not to that level, we don't. National Grid agrees, yeah. It's not a big issue. Most mid-range charge points have load management, NVE, NVE 200 and Leaf. Sorry, there's other questions being answered here by other people. Get 2 E-Neros over the Model 3. Yeah, you could actually, in fairness. Model 3, to keep holding up the Model 3 as if it's going to be a really cheap Tesla. No such thing as a cheap Tesla. It's not going to be cheap. It won't. Compared to anything else, it won't be cheap. I prefer the SUV crossover to the sedan. That's the issue. Model 3, I'd probably be looking at the performance, which is a bit too much money. They're all too much money. Waiting to hear back from Kia on the spec for the Irish E-Niro before making a decision. I'm waiting to hear back from Kia on the E-Niro in the first place. They seem to be completely ignoring the car as if it doesn't exist because they can't get any. That's the problem, you see. IQ Images says Audi's down 22%, Mercedes down 41%, Opel down 19%, Dacia down 35%, Ford down 22%, Toyota 27%, BMW down 22%, Alfa Romeo down 60%. Motor industry in trouble, or is this the start of next recession? Not next recession, it's the motor industry is in trouble because of confusion. I've been asked multiple times by car companies, why do I think, as a journalist, why do I think people aren't buying cars? And I've said it here multiple times on the Sunday service. People are not buying cars because they are confused of what they should buy. Should they buy a diesel, a petrol, a hybrid, an electric? And everyone has a different answer. If I ask that question right now, I would get 5 different answers as to why I should buy a hybrid or electric. Depends who you're talking to. That's the problem. People can't decide. And then there's this other factor of just the false idea that Ireland is suddenly doing well for itself, and employment is back up to 100%, and unemployment is falling. And it's not. They're all on courses. People are being sent off on multiple 5, 6, 7 different courses. ANCO did this back in the 80s. Exact same thing. Hide the live register numbers by putting people onto courses. You take away the live register number, it looks like employment is rising and everything is doing well for itself in Ireland. In actual fact, people are still very much struggling to pay their bills, very much struggling to spend money and get new stuff. And that, when you have just spent 4 or 5 million on a brand new showroom in Dublin for your latest cars, and no one is turning up to buy it. The car industry is being murdered here. It's down about 14% in our country on sales wise, but you can see there from IQ Imagery, even just taking that as verbatim, if that's right, you can see every car company suffering, particularly someone like Alfa Romeo or Fiat, who'll be well down. I'm still surprised even Fiat and Alfa Romeo still exist. Like, seriously, as a proper functioning real big car company, I'm very surprised. New rate plate for July 2. Yeah, sorry, I want an E-Niro for what it is on top Trump's side of things versus price today, but holding off out for a smartphone, fast outdated fear. That's what's happening. Everybody's the same. It's the same thing. Smartphone sales are falling as well. You look at the economy in general of scale around the whole side of the world, you will find absolutely 100% everything is falling. Electronics wise, people aren't buying enough PCs, people aren't buying enough Macs, people aren't buying enough Apple iPhones, Samsungs, Galaxies. There's nothing out there that's exciting anybody anymore. If you want to spend money on something, this is the best piece of advice I'll ever give you. Spend it on experiences. Go and do things. Go to Alton Towers. Go to Disneyland. Go to holiday somewhere and go look at a beach. Stop taking photographs of stuff. Just go look at the thing. Go and enjoy it. Try and spend some time with stuff. That's the best advice I'll ever give you. Go and do your homework. Instead of spending money on the latest iPhone that costs £2,500, go and have a holiday. That's all you got to do. IQ Imagery says, what was smokerspack.com, Bob? Did you smoke? No. Yes, I did. I used to smoke, yeah, 100%. But that was not why I created smokerspack.com. I can remember when you wanted to buy a brand new car, to either take the ashtray out of it or to put the ashtray into it was called a smoker's pack. You wanted a smoker's pack and you ticked the box on your option list, and so I created smoker's pack, but it was too close to talking about smokers, and I started getting these kind of followers that were trying to sell me vaping cigarettes and things, and I thought, nah, forget it, we just call something else. So I changed it to the next gear, which ended up being the best move of all. But I still own smokerspack.com, and I still regularly get offered about $200 for that URL. It's not for sale though, so it's mine. That's that. Do you ever look back at old videos made years ago testing the Renault Fluence and cringe? Yeah, I do. Yeah, of course. Everybody does. Any long-term YouTuber will. Because you're learning your craft. Not only do you look incredibly younger, which I do. I look much younger back then. But you're trying to learn your craft. It's not like you go to TV school or drama school and you learn and no one films you and you have a chance to make all mistakes. You film yourself and there's no one there on the other side of the camera going, that was good, that was bad, that was different. And then you have to learn how to be an editor, you have to learn how to be a cameraman, you have to learn how to be a presenter, you have to learn what way you're dressing, what you're saying, learn to be a journalist, get your facts straight. There's so much stuff that an individual has to do on YouTube that would have been taken care of by TV production companies. So it's very easy to sit back and kind of point a finger at someone now and go, your videos are really crap now, or your videos are really good now, or they were crap 10 years ago. But it's 8 or 9 years ago. It's nearly 10 years I'm doing this. So it doesn't bother me at all. If they embarrass me, I take them down. But I don't care. It makes no difference. Mini Egg says, have you heard of any problems with the latest Merc 220 diesels and very few straight sixes yet? Mercedes are in trouble and have been in trouble for quite some time with their engine range, trying to figure out what engine for the WLTP thing. So there's an awful lot of stuff going on in Mercedes. Even when they look at the range of cars on offer in Ireland right now, it still looks a bit weird. But they're getting back to normal. I haven't heard of any direct problems with the Merc 220 diesel, but that doesn't mean that they aren't being reported. Just remember, if you see problems on the internet, you look at a forum, you see these people listening, I've got a problem with Mercedes. You will only ever hear negative. People will only go online when there's a problem with something. They will never go online when they're complimenting a car and say, that was a really good car, I really enjoyed it, never had a problem. So it's it can be taken with a grain of salt, sort of. Shamrock says, Bob was told by the old fella that an old term he used years ago, which I haven't heard before, was the Italian tune-up. Have you YouTubed it and seem to be lads redlining? No, I haven't. I never heard that expression either, Italian tune-up. Redlining is not something I advise anyone to do on their car, even modern or old. It does put your car, it's a red line for a reason. It puts your car under enormous pressure and your engine is doing inordinate amount of work to try and keep up with itself. So be very careful if you go near that red line stuff and messing around with it. It will do harm without a shadow of a doubt. Are TRW disc brakes and pads any good? Any upgrade from stock is always probably going to be better. Cross-drilled, different pads, different brake discs, just check, because things like cross drilling or discs that have grooves in them is about getting rid of water. That's basically what it's about, getting water off the disc quick so you get more brake disc. But the problem with bigger brake discs or cross drilling or grooves in it is it wears the brake pads out faster. So you will end up changing your brake pads more often on race prepared brake discs, but you will stop better. So it depends what you need. Mustang inside the door is a V8 475 brake horsepower. You need to stop fast, just so does Brembo brakes, and they're cross drilled, but you will spend more on brake pads, particularly over time, and you will probably have to change the brake discs more often too. 1553 is what am I answering from 1553? I'm okay. 1553. I'm catching up in these now, which is always good, isn't it? I timed it well. Yes, I did time it well to wind it down for the last couple of minutes, but I will answer the last couple of questions that are popping up on the screen as well. So Paul Hickey says, hi Bob, if PCP didn't exist, would the car industry be in more trouble now? I think the car industry actually closed if PCP didn't exist. 3 friends have all finished their PCP and all 3 bought out the car because the next PCP was crazy expensive. PCP saved the car industry's ass a few years back. It's right now, it's like nobody wants to talk about PCP anymore. Nobody wants to really get into it because PCP it's a problem. It's a problem because you're guaranteeing what the car is going to be worth in 3 years' time. And right now, the market is in such flux. It is a big issue for people to try and figure out what's going on. The comments haven't actually stopped. It's just people are stopped commenting because they know it's coming close to 4 o'clock. And that means we've come to the end of the Sunday service for this week. It has been an absolute pleasure to be with you for the last 2 hours. It's been a genius. Weather has been weird, but the rest of the time, the sun has come back out now. Honestly, it's the weirdest weather. But it's been an absolutely outstanding week for the Sunday service. There is a video on my channel that we put out this morning, which was from myself and Paul talking about a golf buggy, which has been a bit of crack and has always been a fun for every single week. Hopefully you will enjoy that video. Next week I am away in Malaga, so if you follow me on my Instagram account, you will see what I'm doing over there with the BMW Z4 and BMW 3 series, which I'll be testing. I think we're doing it on track as well, which will be a bit of fun. So I'm looking forward to that. It'll be good crack. Hopefully you will have subscribed. You can support this channel on all of those ones that I mentioned earlier, like PayPal, Patreon, Super Chat, if you're still in the Super Chat. Whatever way you can is always appreciated. You can also join us over on Facebook, where the Sunday Service community get together all the time on Facebook on a sort of a private group thing and have a little chat about all the things that are good out there in the world. Hopefully you have enjoyed today though on the Sunday Service. And you will join me next week when we do it again on the Sunday Service, hopefully. But until the next time, I will see you on the far side.